Welcome everyone to the Board of County Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, August 27th. And as we do every time we have a meeting here in Manatee County, we always worship our God and pledge to our great nation. And this morning, we have the pleasure of having Pastor Benjamin Bruce of the Harbor Life Church, which will be doing the invocation, and our very own Robert Burke, Captain, U.S. Army and Desert Storm veteran. And if we could all rise, Pastor Burke. Pastor Bruce, sorry.
Let's pray. Father God, I just thank you so much for this beautiful morning that we're having here. I pray that you would just be here in our midst, that this meeting would be filled with just so much wisdom and unity. God, I pray that as decisions are discussed and presented, that you would just give staff clarity, that you give all the commissioners making decisions clarity. God, I just ask for your blessing over this time and that you would just be here among us. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Captain Burke.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, you're the next Ready, didn't you? All right, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Captain Burke, for your service to our great nation. County Administrator, are there any updates to the agenda?
Yeah, the agenda update memorandums was included in the electronic agenda.
All right, thank you, sir. Are there any commissioners like to pull anything from the consent agenda? No, seeing none, thank you very much. At this point, we will adjourn our meeting, and we have a Port Authority meeting this morning, and Commissioner Burden is Vice Chair of the Port, and I adjourn our meeting and hand it over to Commissioner Bearden, Port Chair.
Call to order. Everybody, welcome to the Manatee County Port Authority meeting on August 27th, 2024. We will first go through public comments. Do we have any public comments at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 3 regarding consent agenda. Do we have any items to be pulled from the consent agenda at this time? Seeing none, we will move on to the next item, item number A, warrant list.
No, nothing to report there. It's
Nothing to
It's under
report?
consent also.
Okay.
So
Item number B, going over the minutes, July 30th, 2024. Do we have, we have a motion to approve. We have a second by Commissioner Cruz. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? That agenda item passes with a vote of 5-0. Moving on to the next item, budget resolution, item number C.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to let you know this is a consent agenda. If you want, you can take all the items under one motion
Okay.
to approve the consent agenda, or you can continue to do it individually, whichever is your preference.
Okay, thank you very much. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda at this time?
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? That item passes 5-0. Moving on to item number 4, resolution for the fiscal year 2024 to 2025, Manatee County Port Authority budget. Denise Stufflebeam will give us
Mr. Chairman,
that.
if I may, for just a second, under the consent agenda, you were approving also our new partnership agreement with U.S. Customs, and we have 2 representatives of U.S. Customs here. I think they wanted to be here in person to really emphasize the great partnership that we have with the federal agencies that keep us all safe. You know, we have thousands of containers coming out of the port, products of all kinds, but the first line of defense is U.S. Customs and Border Protection, including immigration. There's no, passenger that comes in on a ship or crew member that doesn't get inspected. All the cargo gets inspected. This agreement further reinforces the safety and security of the U.S. with the partnership of U.S. Customs and Border Protection. So they're here in person in case there are any questions. And so, it's an ongoing effort to improve the security at all levels.
Okay.
So we wanna
Would they
thank
like
them
to
for
make
that.
any comments at this time?
I think they're okay. I asked
Okay.
them. More is less.
All right.
And they're just used to, I think, being in the background, but very effectively, doing their job. So
Okay. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Moving on to item number 4, resolution for the fiscal year 2024-2025 Manatee County Port Authority budget. Denise?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Denise Stuffelbeam, Director of Business Administration and Finance. We're tag teaming the budget presentation this year. I'm going to give a brief recap of this year. Abby is going to present the FY25 budget, and Dan will go over our CIP. So this year's operating revenue was budgeted at $25.5 million. We anticipate that we're going to finish the year at nearly $31 million. So that is good news. A lot of it has to do with our waterborne revenue. We had 475 vessel calls this year. That's up from 450 last year. Our tonnage is up 1 million tons over last year. So we've seen increases in our appliances, in our dry bulk cargo, our fruit, juices, petroleum products, to name just a few. But the largest unbudgeted increase is in the number of juice vessel calls we had. This company that brings in the juice decided to try on another port, and that did not fit well, and they returned to Port Manatee, which we're very happy about. So that helped with the unbudgeted revenue. So increases in our waterborne revenue have a trickle-down effect with all our other revenue line items. So we had increases in our scales, in our storage, and also in our security fees. All in all, a great year for Seaport Manatee, but as Dan will go over, we have a very long list of projects that we will reinvest the revenue into the port infrastructures. But first, I'm going to turn it over to Abby Lindekamp, and she will present our proposed fiscal year 2025 budget.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Abby Lindekamp, Deputy Director of Business Admin and Finance. I have a few documents that we will show on the doc cam. For this year, we're proposing an operating revenue budget of $29.6 million. This is a 16% increase from FY 2024. So to help you understand a little bit about what our waterborne revenue is, I would like to give you an actual example of an import and how it impacts our revenue. So we're going to take a ship, and it's in Canada, and the vessel is loaded with granite and heads to Seaport Manatee. It takes 6 days to get to the port. Upon arriving to the port, it is tied up at the berth with our port employees, and that is considered our line handling revenue. The vessel is at berth for 2 days, and that is our dockage revenue. The cargo offloaded generates wharfage revenue. Every vessel is assessed a harbor master fee, and some of the ships take on water. All these line items compile the waterborne revenue, which we're budgeting at $15.6 million. The customer of the granite shipment has a 20-year lease with Port Manatee, generating lease revenue. We have leases from 1 to 50 years, and we're budgeting $4.4 million. Other revenue items include storage of the cargo throughout the port for customers without a lease. We also have a scales department where we weigh the trucks with cargo, and we also have security fees that are budgeted at $2.2 million. These revenue projections are based on our speaking with our customers and getting their revenue forecast for Seaport Manatee. So now I'll move on to the expenses. Our expense budget is an overall 11% increase, $18 million, up from $16.2 from FY 2024. We're budgeting 2 new positions this year, one in security for a security compliance supervisor, and a warehouse specialist. We are following the county with a cost of living and a merit increase that will be implemented in 2 phases. Other personnel increases include a 1% in health insurance, and also we have increase in Florida retirement contribution rates. So the total budget for salaries and our excellent fringe benefits are $10 million. Operating expenses are budgeted at $8 million. Along with promotions, travel, and professional service fees are a few of our expenses that make up our budget. If there aren't any questions on the revenue or expenses, I'll turn it over to Dan Fitzpatrick and he can discuss our CIP.
Hey, good morning. Dan Fitzpatrick, and I'm the Director of Planning and Project Development at Seaport Manatee. And Seaport Manatee is Southwest Florida's primary seaport, and the mission of the port is to be an economic catalyst for the region. And in 2021, the port provided $5.1 billion of economic impacts to the United States economy, contributed $200 million in state and local taxes, and the port does $30 to $40 million a year in U.S. customs fees and creates 37,000 jobs annually, or supports 37,000 jobs. And so as part of completing that mission, the port adopts a 20-year master plan that provides a vision for the future and a blueprint of where the port's headed, and we implement the master plan annually through our capital improvement plan. And the port reinvests all of the revenues that we collect, and as Abby pointed out, we collect revenues from dockage, from wharfage, from leases, from security and other fees. And then we reinvest every single dollar to make sure that we're maximizing our impact. And the table here on the screen shows the major projects that we're working on. And first one on the list, and I'm just going to touch on 3 of these. First one on the list is our Berth 4 extension project, and that project extends Berth 4 by 600 feet to the north, and that will allow us to handle 2 ships at berths 4 and 5. And we've been working on this project now for about 6 years, and we're just waiting on one more piece of paper from the federal government to start that project. And in addition to that project, we're also working on the container yard expansion, and this project will expand our container yard by about 16.5 acres. It'll also install some radiation portal monitors with our partnership with U.S. Customs and Border Patrol. And it'll also install some electrification infrastructure for our mobile harbor cranes so that we can plug our mobile harbor cranes into the grid. And then lastly, just for, 3 major projects on this list, we're in the process of receiving some mobile harbor cranes. We placed an order in February, and we expect those cranes to arrive in December or January of this year. And with that, I'll take any questions. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Dan? All good news, right?
Yeah, all great news.
Question, it could take a turn.
It's moving.
Yeah, revenue is going great on an upward trajectory, and port expansion is booming as well. Carlos?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to point something out, I think, that really illustrates how the port is doing, and thanks to the support we've been getting from the board. And is that back in December, when we had the issue of bringing in the juice, right? It was rather controversial, but we knew, and you all knew, that it was the best thing for the port. And here's the proof. The proof is essentially that, I think, is this showing? No, not this. Okay. If I could have that up. Okay. If you look at the bottom, the retained earnings or net earnings for the port for next year go from 1.8 million to 5 million. That's exactly a difference of $3 million. It's a huge increase in net earnings. We use net earnings, interestingly enough, to build the port and to expand the port. And to be able to do that, those net earnings are crucial to be able to accomplish the goal of the port. So I think it really, really, cause and effect we approved the juice, and 1 year later, we have $3 million more per year, which is more than triple the prior, almost triple, the prior net income. So significant increase, so thank you for that.
Mr. Chair, a quick question.
Yeah, Commissioner Ron.
Good morning, sir. The 3 million, is any part of that from the reimbursement we got back from the Corps on what they've owed us? And that continues, what, for 3 million for 3 years?
Yeah, that is in fact a reimbursement. It is not in this budget. This is pure income from operations and expenses.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So really, the quality of the revenue is important, as we all know. And this particular business reflected the fact that there was no investment in infrastructure, yet the revenue was just too good to pass up, and to be used to rebuild the port with facilities and expansion of current warehouses.
Hey, Chair.
Commissioner Turner.
Yeah, I'd like to comment because really, we don't run a port. We're not experts up here. And we backed you, Carlos, because you are. And that's the outcome there, $3 million. So thank you.
Commissioner Bearden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Carlos, again, another awesome strategic move that you accomplished here to increase our revenues by $3 million. We know that we need to continue to expand that port to the fact being it closest to the Panama Canal, and we see it as an amazing revenue source for Manatee County that's not coming out of our taxes. So great job again.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments from the board? All right, Carlos?
No comments for me. Any
Okay.
further comments at this time? Thank you.
At this time, we'll entertain verbal motions to pass consent.
So moved.
We already
did it.
We already approved consent.
I asked him, and he said you hadn't done it yet.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Then we'll move on to commissioner comments. I assume there aren't any since everyone just spoke. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Carlos. We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Wait, what? Oh, the attorney.
The attorney.
We're back. We're back.
The attorney.
I'm so sorry. We need a motion to approve the resolution approving the budget.
The budget was on consent. But okay.
No,
It
it's a
says-
separate item.
Okay, there you are. Okay, so we're entertaining motions to approve the budget.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Turner, seconded by Commissioner Ballard. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, Madam Clerk, it passes unanimously. All right. Any other business?
Not at this time. Thank you very
All right.
much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, any other business, Jen? All right, we're adjourned.
Madam Attorney.
Thank you.
And we are back. What we're going to do now is we're going to go to awards, presentations, and proclamations. And for our first award is Presentation of Employee of the Month, Mary Quinindo. And this is exciting. This is fun stuff we get to do. There is that's our dog.
Good morning, Commissioners. Patrick Shea, Utilities Director here in Manatee County. Really is a great day in Manatee County. It's my honor and privilege to recognize a great employee within the county government, as well as within the Utilities Department, our Solid Waste Division. So Mary Aquindo is the Recycling Program Coordinator for Manatee County, and you may see her in one of the labeled buses or labeled vans that go around the county and encourage recycling by our residents and visitors to the county. A few things that I'll point out about Mary and her tenure is if you have an idea or if there's any direction that Mary is given, generally she's either thought of it, she's already done it, or she's in process of doing it. She's a doer. She brings that can-do attitude with a very, very strong work ethic. The other thing is if you ever catch Mary not smiling, you should snap a picture of it. She is one of the most positive contributors to the work that we do, work that matters. So it was of no surprise to anyone but Mary that she was recognized with this honor. So I will turn it over to the Deputy Director in Solid Waste, Chris Collins.
Thanks. Good morning, Commissioners. Mr. Bishop, Ms. D'Agostino. I echo what Pat just said. And as we know, we've all had quite a bit of storms this month in various cases, but Mary is that ray of sunshine that we brought up here today to get us through those storms. She is, like Pat said, she is just a ray of sunshine for everybody she encounters throughout the day. And because of her, we not only have one of the highest recycling rates in all of Florida, but we've got a fun work environment to follow that up with. Mary goes out in the community. She's our face for recycling in schools, on tours, at events, and she'd probably call me a creeper because I attend these events kind of ninja style, and I'm always kind of watching her and see what's going on. And she's amazing from the time she starts the event till the event could be a 6-hour-long event. She's got the same energy at 6 hours she did when she first walked in. So it's really amazing. And while we know teamwork's crucial for success, Mary has spearheaded our recycling education efforts almost single-handedly. And as a quote I like, Steve Jobs once said that we don't hire people and tell them what to do. We hire people smarter than us so they can tell us what to do. And Mary just exemplifies that ethos perfectly. She has made Manatee County a great place to live, work, and play, that's for sure. And if you didn't know, she's also not just a valued team member, she's our very own YouTube star. She worked with our communications team and created some educational videos, one that's got a very catchy tune that I believe is on Mr. Pilichowski's daily playlist. You can hear him listen to him quite often, but it's about 2.5 minutes, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind if we play that.
Play it.
All right.
Well, old gas, oil, pesticides, paint can, weed killer, diesel, insecticides, worn out batteries, clear up needed space from household hazardous waste, a better life for you and me here in Manatee.
Hi, I'm Mary, Manatee County Recycling Coordinator.
And I'm Gary, the garbage guru.
And welcome to Talking Trash.
Today, we're going to show you how to properly get rid of household hazardous waste and electronic scrap.
That's right. Just what is household hazardous waste and electronic scrap?
Well, I'm glad you asked. Me.
Oh, no, that's okay, Gary. We would just put it up on the screen right now, and if people want to look at it, they can just pause the video.
I don't need to hold my breath, do I?
No, you will be okay.
Great. Now that we know what household hazardous waste and electronic scrap is, how do we get rid of it?
Well, before we do that, let's do the pause thing one more time and show people the times and locations for drop-off.
If you can't pause this video, you can always go to mymanatee.org/HHW for acceptable items, times, and locations.
Okay, since most of this type of collection is done at our Lena Road landfill location, we will focus our attention there.
Upon entering the facility, you'll notice our scale house.
That's right. Always stop at the scale house and tell your friendly attendant why you will be dropping off.
If it's electronic scrap or household hazardous waste, you'll be directed to this building right here.
As you depart the scale house, be sure to check your blind spot as there may be other traffic entering on the right.
Once you're at the household hazardous waste building, wait for directions from staff to pull forward, and be sure to tell them what you're getting rid of.
Always stay in your vehicle and always turn off your car. Our staff will unload the materials for you.
Wait, that's it?
Yeah, aside from exiting in a safe manner, that's it.
Well, thank you for joining us on this episode of Talking Trash. And as always, let's make it a better life for you and me here in Manatee.
And you all couldn't hear it, but Evan was humming that back here behind me. I could hear it. But Mary, you're deserving of this award every month. And the staff behind you, it's all her supervisory staff behind her. I'm sure they would echo the same exact thing. But I'm glad we were able to at least 1 month really shine the spotlight on you and get you out there in the public. So congratulations.
Thank you, so appreciate it.
Good morning. I'm honored to receive Employee of the Month. I truly love the work I do, from educating the community on recycling best practice to fostering relationship with our industry partners and connecting with the residents in the community at different events. I take pride in this work, and I hope to keep doing this work and continue to making an impact on the community for the rest of my career. And thank you again for the recognition today. Thank you.
Hey, Mary. Mary.
Yes, sir.
I've never seen one smile so big about trash. And thank you for doing a great job that you do with our recycling. I know you're out in the schools, you're out educating people every day about how to recycle in Manatee County. And we just thank you so much for the great job you do, and congratulations. It was well earned. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you, team. All right. As they exit, next presentation is presentation of a team award. And who's presenting the team award? Okay. Are we doing a team award? Oh, Jimmy. Okay.
Good morning.
Morning, Madam Director. How are you?
I'm a ray of sunshine.
You always
Jody
are.
Fiz, Public Safety Director.
You always are.
So I am going to let Jimmy give the details, but I do want to highlight, we actually had the opportunity to do a presentation last week talking about Manatee County EMS and some of the stuff that happens. And our community health team is exceptional. They are setting the bar at what they do. And this in particular is special because I think a lot of us go through in our jobs and we hope that what we're doing makes a difference. And coming from with Department of Children and Families before I got into disaster response, you don't always get a rapid turnaround to the efforts that you're putting in to try to help members of the community. And so I'm very excited to have Jimmy here to talk about the very hard work of his team and get them recognized for the absolutely life-changing assistance that they were able to provide to one of our residents.
Good morning, Commissioners. James Crutchfield, Deputy Director of Public Safety. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about the work that my team and public safety team, they do daily. And just to be clear, I do think that the health team, the community health team, is not just doing a great job, but they're literally writing the playbook for the state of Florida. Manatee County is home to one of the best in the state. I'm a little bit partial, of course, but I would also say that we're one of the best in the country. This team allows their mission to guide them in addressing longstanding issues with our community's most vulnerable populations. These problems often are overlooked and deemed unsolvable. I often call the community health team the EMS ninjas. We've allowed them the autonomy to act with boldness when confronting challenges, and doing that, they address the challenge boldly. The team is achieving great results daily, monthly, and yearly, from avoiding or diverting millions of dollars in healthcare costs to decreasing 911 utilization, and really just doing the right thing for individuals that have often been overlooked. I couldn't be more proud of the team and the work that they do daily. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to our licensed clinical social worker to kind of give you a 50,000-foot view of the services that they provided this client in the community and why we're recognizing them today.
Morning. So for this client, we went in just to see what they needed. We do an assessment to see where they're lacking, if they need connection to other services in the community. And this gentleman definitely needed connections to higher level of need, which we were able to connect him to a assisted living facility that would be able to take care of him. He was living in not the healthiest, not the cleanest home, and not in the healthiest lifestyle. So we were able to have him moved over. It was very quick and swift. Some of us physically moved his furniture over to the assisted living facility and made sure that all of his finances and things like that were taken care of, so that way he could live a long and healthy life in his retirement years.
And for the record, licensed clinical social worker Sonia Schuhart. She's humble in the work that she's talking about. This is someone who is overlooked and was referred to the community health program, and they were able to go in and not only connect them to resources available in the community, but also pack up his home and move him into an assisted living facility. It literally is the definition of going above and beyond and doing work that matters. That's it. That's it. Thank you. Yeah.
Is there a award you're giving these guys, or are they all here?
They're all here.
Awesome. And who's our furry? Introduce our furry friend, everybody, Jimmy, too.
Sure. So also behind me is Rucker. Rucker is a PTSD dog that is here under contract through Valor Service Dogs. He works with public safety and just keeping everybody happy. We call him the Chief Happiness Officer.
Rucker's a great dog. All right. Courtney, you want to say anything? Or?
I've been asked to call each individual employee up.
Okay, cool.
So with us today, we have Bree. Bree's a nurse. She works with the community health team. Chris Ridge, community paramedic. Thank you, sir. Dr. Shanks, advanced practice nurse practitioner. Sonia Schuhart, licensed clinical social worker. And Hunter Gregg, community health worker / paramedic.
Congratulations, you guys. You do a great job out there in the community, and we appreciate everything you do, really. All right. Commissioner Ballard is on the board.
So I just want to take a moment to thank you guys for all that you do. I had the opportunity to actually go out with community health and spend a day, and the work that they do is absolutely amazing, and it's crucial for our community. They're taking those high 911 utilizers and getting them the help that they need, which truly does save millions of dollars for our community. And also for those really vulnerable people who don't have any connection in their life, they're connecting them with resources so that they can live, a really full and healthy life. And it really is impressive work. And I'm so glad that we have a program like this in our county. So thank you guys, and thank you for this particular incidence of going above and beyond, but I know that you all do it all the time. So thank you.
Deputy Director, you good?
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you, guys. Thank you very much. All right, we're moving along. And next up is a presentation by the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council and Commissioner Turner.
Yes, TBBRC. We have two special guests here today. Ran with the sleeve on and the green dress. That's the big kahuna of the organization. And Kara, who's going to do the presentation. Just a brief overview. This is an organization that the county is involved with. There's six counties, right, in total? I lost track of the rest because we're the best. And Kara's going to do a presentation. This is great leverage for the county. Just a quick overview of a couple of things. Resiliency, grants, economic development. They're way ahead of it in most areas, so it's enormous leverage for the county. Kara, take us away before I screw it up. Thanks.
No worries. Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Kara Woods-Sarah with the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council. I'm the Director of Resiliency, and as Commissioner Turner stated, I'm joined by Ren Krall, our Executive Director. I'll advance through my slides. Thank you. And I wanted to thank Commissioner Turner for his leadership. He's been representing Manatee County on the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council, and we really appreciate him joining us, inviting us to speak at today's meeting, and inviting us to meet with the administration and staff this morning. So what is our mission? What are we here to do? We want to serve our citizens. We want to serve our member governments like Manatee County. We are providing a forum to foster communication, coordination and collaboration in identifying and addressing needs regionally. So we want to make sure there's a forum for you all to talk to each other when you have issues come up in the county. You don't want to tackle those issues alone. You want to be able to talk to other counties, see how they're dealing with those issues. And we want to make sure that we're dealing with things across county lines because we know things like flooding and a lot of the risks of storms don't just stop at the county line. So we are the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council, but we're one of 10 planning councils throughout the state. Just so that you know, planning councils are also a special district government. So being a government kind of puts us in a unique position. But we also have the opportunity to talk across other regions in the state for best practices as well. This is our current slate of officers with Mayor Woody Brown serving as our chair this year. And we are a 6-county region, like Commissioner Turner said. We have 23 municipalities in those 6 counties. Those municipalities joined voluntarily, and so we actually just added 2 new municipalities, so we're really proud of that. We have 13 gubernatorial appointees and 3 ex officios from FDOT, the Southwest Florida Water Management District, and FDEP. So we focus on a lot of different areas, and we can kind of focus even outside of those areas. We're really just looking to serve our member governments, but we really focus on economic development, emergency preparedness, environmental planning, planning technologies, and resiliency planning. And the way that we really deal in all of those is by being a convener, making sure that you're able to talk to other cities and counties in the region, making sure that there's opportunities for leadership. So we want to really build capacity in your leaders, build capacity in the staff that are serving your community. And we really are focused on planning, of course, because we're a planning council. So really thinking about the future, really focusing on a lot of planning and growth management issues, and especially resiliency planning. So one of the programs that actually brings me here today is what we call our Regional Government Liaison Program. So each of our staff members is assigned to one of the member governments in our region. Most of us have several member governments. I'm the liaison for Manatee County, so I try to spend my time looking at your agendas, looking at your special committees, making sure I'm aware of any issues that are going on here, and then when I can, I try to connect any grant opportunities or any connections where I'm seeing similar issues happening in other parts of our region. We also can provide planning and technical support services, which I'll explain further, and then we, like I said, are really strategic about convening the region. So Commissioner Turner attends our quarterly meetings. We make sure that those meetings are an opportunity for our member governments to talk to each other about issues that they might be seeing in their individual governments, maybe issues that they're seeing at a state level that they want to talk about, how they can start to really tackle that maybe in partnership. So the Government Liaison Program is our newest program under the direction of Director Ren Kroll. We're really excited about growing partnerships, deepening our understanding of our member governments, regional knowledge, and community identity. So you can see me in the top left attending one of our member governments, local, it's called Localtopia in the city of St. Petersburg. On the top right was the Cracker Trail proclamation that you all did earlier this year. And then in the bottom right, I attended the Parish Heritage Festival earlier this year as well. So for planning, support, and technical services, we have a lot of services that we can provide, and I do just want to remind you all that we are a government, so we do not require that you go through procurement to work with us. We can offer training and capacity building, research and analysis, plan development. We're working with 2 of our counties to develop their local mitigation strategies, which opens up funding for FEMA funding and other post-storm funding. We're also support your community rating system, which lowers the flood insurance rates for your residents. Hazard vulnerability assessments, you all are already working on one. I believe you have a request on the agenda later to increase the budget for that. We look at greenhouse gas analysis, scenario planning, 3D visualization. So we talked a little bit with your staff earlier this morning, but we can visualize what it looks like for an area to flood. That's, unfortunate, but maybe if you're having trouble communicating that issue, we can visualize that, but we can also visualize what it looks like when you become more resilient. So what does it look like if we had a better stormwater system here or more green space? We can make it, we can mock up what that would look like for you. We can also do scenario planning. So maybe you want to know what it looks like to change the footprint of buildings in an area. We can take a look at what that looks like. So maybe you want to increase the floor area ratio in a part of your county. We can mock up what that would look like on the street level. We can also do economic and fiscal analysis. We've done that for the Strawberry Festival. What is the economic impact of the Strawberry Festival for Plant City? Maybe you want to look at something like that in your area. We also have GIS services, graphic design, and then we have recently started doing augmented reality, which is basically if you hold up your phone and look through your camera, you see something projected onto the space in front of you that's not actually there. So you might hold up your phone and see, one example is we put an airplane in our parking lot. Not practical, but a good way of visualizing what could be there. So those are some of the really cool technology services that we can do, but we wanted you to think of us as an extension of your planning department, as an extension of your staff capacity. So some recent highlights, we did an economic valuation of Tampa Bay. So what is the value of that asset of the actual bay to our region's economy? And then we also have a regional resiliency action plan, which is sort of a high-level plan that shows how we can work together as a region for resiliency, but also some good examples of what our local governments can do to adopt resiliency practices. I wanted to highlight Project Phoenix, especially when we're in hurricane season and with Debbie recently. This is a hurricane simulation for a Category 5 hurricane hitting in Tampa Bay. It's a series of videos. We recently updated these videos, and we also have the ability to do a tabletop exercise with your emergency management and business community to kind of run through that scenario. What do we do, 6 weeks out, a week out, 6 weeks after the storm, and then 6 months after the storm, that type of thing. And this shows, what would it look like when we're watching the news as a Category 5 is approaching. How are those messages coming through the news stations? And then we also interviewed some business owners in Mexico Beach in the Panhandle about how they recovered after Hurricane Michael. You might be familiar, but maybe you're not, with some of our other committees. We have an agency on Bay and Coastal Management. That's an environmental subcommittee. We have a Regional Resiliency Coalition, which Manatee County is a member of, and that's a voluntary committee to work on issues of storms and flooding as a region. And then we also have our hazardous materials and a local emergency planning committee, which looks at where the locations of our hazardous materials are and trains your public safety staff on how to manage those and respond to those types of events. So I did want to invite you all to our next meeting, which is October 14th at 10 a.m. That's going to be in our office, but there is also an option to join us on Zoom. We try to make the meetings interesting and talk about topics that are most likely going to be relevant to our member governments in our region. And we are always open to questions. If you have questions about, again, we're having this issue, can you connect us with another city or county that's having a similar issue? Or how have you seen this addressed other places? That's really what we're here for, so please think of us as a resource. And thank you for having me today, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Commissioner Turner. You want to close it out?
Yeah. Kara, thank you for we really needed this. And Rand, thank you for your leadership. I've really enjoyed that. And hopefully this morning, with all the introductions, we can utilize this organization better moving forward. So don't forget to get a hold of them, right?
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
All right, thank you, ladies. Appreciate you being here this morning. All right, next, we're going to move on to proclamations. What I need is I need a motion to approve the proclamations.
So moved.
Second. Okay, where we at? Moved by Commissioner Ballard, second by Commissioner Bearden. We're waiting for it to come up on the board. In the meantime, Commissioner Bearden's going to do our first proclamation, tribute to Heroes Day.
I think Commissioner Bearden needs to.
Oh, I'll second. I'll go ahead and second. Okay. I'll cast your votes now. I got it. I did it. I'm sure the proclamations will all carry. Right. You can't abstain, Commissioner Turner, from proclamations. And the motion will carry 6-0 on our proclamations this morning. Commissioner Bearden. And all those come down, all our guys, great firefighters, come on down. You guys don't get to dress up that much anymore, do you? You look good this morning. Thank you for being here.
Awesome. Proclamation, Board of County Commissioners, Manatee County, Florida. Whereas on September 11th, 2001, the United States suffered and endured one of the most horrific acts in its history, the attack upon our homeland by terrorists who hijacked 4 jetliners to execute multiple homicide bombing attacks of great evil. And whereas the American people wish to remember and honor the victims lost in this tragedy with courage, strength, and dignity. And whereas September 11th, 2001 proved to the world that heroes come in all shapes and sizes. Heroes are the people sitting by you today, those who gave selflessly and contributed to the strength of our country, and those who responded without hesitation and are ready to respond again. And whereas firefighters, law enforcement, and emergency medical services personnel are highly trained public servants who work under demanding and dangerous conditions, and the courageous and unselfish acts of these public servants proved again that day that our country is truly the land of the free and home of the brave. And whereas for many years to come, when our children stand with their hands over their hearts and pledge allegiance to the United States, they will more clearly understand that as one nation under God, the United States is invisible, a country unable to be divided by tragedy. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Manatee County, Florida, that September 11th, 2024 shall be known, designated, and set aside as Tribute to Heroes Day in Manatee County, Florida, adopted with a quorum present and voting this 27th day of August 2024, signed by our chairman, Ron. I'd like to come up and speak.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning, sir.
My name is Billy Smith. I represent the Tribute to Heroes Committee, and we work under the direction of the Manatee County Fire Chiefs. We have some of our committee members here. That includes firefighters from all departments, as well as a couple retirees and one FDNY retiree. The biggest part of our committee is to plan the September 11th memorial, which will happen 9 a.m. down at Rossi Park on September 11th. This piece here that you read today is just another piece that helps us all not forget. So I'd like to thank you for your support and appreciate your declaring today as Tribute to Heroes Day, or September 11th.
And make sure you keep the proclamation here.
Thank you.
Officer, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate everything you do. You guys run into buildings when they're on fire and don't run out. And we just thank you for risking your lives every day to keep us safe. Thank you very much. The next proclamation is National Preparedness Month, and it's going to be presented by Commissioner Ballard.
Whereas each year, the Federal Emergency Management Agency promotes National Preparedness Month as an effort to strengthen the country's preparedness capabilities for natural hazards or terrorist attacks. And whereas, since September 11th, 2001, the U.S. government has taken steps to encourage all citizens to make their own survival preparations. And whereas, Manatee County residents can take actions to become prepared to respond and recover from any natural or man-made hazard, no matter how big or small. The more people prepared, the quicker our community will recover. And whereas, first responders may not always be able to reach residents quickly after an event, and the most important step is to be self-sufficient for a minimum of 7 days. And whereas, Manatee County encourages all residents, visitors, and business owners to understand the threat of natural and man-made hazards and to undertake preparedness measures to protect lives, welfare, and property. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Manatee County, Florida, that September 2024 shall be known, designated, and set aside as National Preparedness Month in Manatee County, Florida. And the community is encouraged to observe this month with preparing their homes, families, and workplaces through training and civic activities, adopted with a quorum present and voting this 27th day of August 2024, and signed by our chair, Mike Ron. Thank you.
Commissioners, Mr. Chair, Mr. Administrator, Madam Attorney, we just wanted to make sure that people understand that we are headed into the thick of hurricane season. Chief Myers with EM, and making sure that people take and use this time, especially this week with the tax-free holiday, to get some supplies that are needed, check up and reassure their plans. While it looks like it's, we don't like to say it, the Q word out there in the tropics, once that Sahara dust kind of settles down, which is expected to happen, El Nino kind of comes into place, we're going to start seeing those storms really pick up. So we want to make sure all of the citizens and even the visitors and our businesses are getting prepared.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you being here this morning. All right, thank you. That ends all of our awards presentations and proclamations. What we're going to do now is we're going to go to citizen comment. This comment is for citizens to come forward. You have 3 minutes. This is for a 30-minute time limit. At the end of the 30 minutes, we will stop citizen comment, then we'll move to citizen comment on consent agenda items only. But there is opportunity at the end of the meeting to open it back up for citizens comment, which we will do at that time. So what I'd like to do is the first citizen up is Dina Sabu. Dina, good morning, ma'am. You know the rules. And plus, we actually put them on the podium, so.
All right.
So good morning, ma'am. State your name, county residence, and you have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Dina Sabo, and I'm a Manatee County resident, here again to speak about the animal shelter and the dogs. I thought today would be a good opportunity to, is this on? Here we go. To remind everyone that according to an announcement that was posted on the Manatee County government website, April 23rd, 2019, everyone was boasting and proud to announce that there was money that was unanimously voted on, including the animal shelter, again, over 5 years ago. $8 million in funding was provided for the animal shelter. Since then, we've moved over to Bishop, and the pickleball court, that was $2.9 million completed, the Lincoln Pool completed, and the East County Library also completed. So today, almost 5.5 years later, no ground has been broken, not a building has been made, and the dogs are still sitting in the dilapidated building without proper ventilation, without proper temperature control, and they are beyond capacity. So I'm here today just to continue to remind you that Amanda Ballard, this is your district, and nothing's being done. There isn't even proper electrical support to bring air conditioners in to code. So how is this continuing to happen since 2019? And a quick record review showed me that in the year of 2019 to 2020, there were over 30 emails sent to each one of you from concerned citizens and volunteers at the shelter telling you how dire the situation is when it's that hot, when we are in this season. And subsequently, when it gets cold, there's also a slew of emails that each one of you receive. Yet we sit here today, and I keep coming back to remind you, you're not doing what you promised. You're over 5 years late in delivering. But we have pickleball, we have a pool, and we have a new library. The dogs need us to do what you promised they would do. What is the holdup? The county residents have voted. They've completely supported you in getting this done, and we're still not moving forward. So I'm just here again today to say there's pleas all over Facebook. The shelter's full. Dogs are outside. It's really hot. None of us would want to be sitting out in a concrete block all day in this heat. So if you're not going to break ground as you've all promised over 5 years ago, then go ahead and get an electrician out there and get that dilapidated building up to code and get it so that they can at least have the comfort of a little bit of fresh air that's cool and some heat in the winter until you decide to do what you're going to do. Again, I know that many of you received an update that we were asking for you to put the shelter back on the agenda so that we could get another update, which didn't get
Thank you,
done.
ma'am. Thank you.
So please do this.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, you have to,
Oh, you want it?
you have to, yeah, you have to leave that with her. She can give it back to you later, but, okay.
There you go.
Next up is Joyce Jordan.
Good morning.
Morning, ma'am.
Joyce Jordan, Manatee County.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm also here about the dogs, as always. But I want to remind Dina, none of you were on the commission in 2019. So what happened? 2020, you all got elected. And look what happened. We got nothing done for 5 years now. So we're hoping to get more done now. I have some emails that were written years ago. It's just so sad. These emails were begging for the county to put air conditioners on the outside dogs. We have 50 outside kennels. 10 on this side, 10 on this side, and 15 on this side, and 15 on this side. That's 50 dogs out in this heat every day. It is wrong. They bought these stupid portable air conditioners which do not work. They have a hose that comes out of them, so that hose, wherever it points, is who gets air. The other dogs don't. It only aims on one kennel, and it's out in the hall. It's not even in a kennel. It is trash. It needs to go. They need to get real air conditioners if they're not going to give us this building, because we have been promised for 5 years that we were getting this building, and nothing has been done. The shelter is understaffed. We have volunteers crying, calling us crying, because they can't speak up because they'll be fired. So we have to speak up for them. They are so overworked, overheated, and the dogs are suffering. Please, 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 build Bishop. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up is David Dean. Morning, sir. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name and your county residence.
Good morning. My name is David Dean. I live here in Manatee County, out in Mayaca. I'm here today to talk about the recent flooding out east and drainage. Now, I'm no engineer, but I do know the #1 rule of plumbing is that crap runs downhill. How fast and where it does so, however, depends on the drainage provided. I did some site surveys of the 4 drainage.
Hey, sir, can you do me a favor? Can you turn that a little bit? It's this way. We need to turn
This
it.
way?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's both okay. Of the 4 drainage creeks on the southeast side of the lake, and those are the Corbett Branch, the Little Deep Branch, the Poley Branch, and the Sand Branch. What I saw was we're having more runoff due to the raising of the grade 2 or 3 feet for the developments and putting in more impervious rooftops and roads. At the same time, I also saw where developers and private landowners have been restricting these 3-4 drainage creeks' ability to move water by filling in their natural banks. This combination of more water needing to be moved and less drainage to do so leads to more flooding. Developers can put in all the piping and retention ponds they want, but if there's little or no place for the overflow to drain to outside their boundaries, then unwanted flooding is inevitable. The flooding in Star Farms is a prime example. Page 8 and 10, 8 through 10, I'm sorry, show the ditches on 64 at their entrances on 64. They are ditches to nowhere that have sat with standing water for the 2 years, even during the dry seasons, because it's just in front of their frontage. If they'd been connected to the Sand Branch Creek that is just 100 yards north, then the excess water could have flowed to below the dam. We could have had the same kinds of problems with the Neal and Bruff developments going on east of Burnside if the county doesn't take action to ensure the Corbett, Little Deep, Poley, Branch Creeks remain unobstructed and unrestricted all the way to the lake. Just ask the insurance companies. Their models show we will face more flooding in the future. Hurricanes will get stronger and wetter. Our community needs to plan accordingly by improving drainage and updating our own flood zone maps. We should also take the other mitigation measures that will maximize the National Flood Insurance premium discounts that are available for all Manatee County citizens. Unfortunately, we've been going in the opposite direction.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your comments.
Have a nice day.
Thank you, sir. Next up is Matthew. I'm sorry, Matthew, I butcher your name all the time. Schwetzenitz. Good morning, sir. You have 3 minutes, and state your name, county residence.
Yep, Matthew Sausenich.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Sorry I butchered your name. You're up.
Last time I came up here, I was pretty heated. I don't have any apologies to that. I think the trust in the flood victims, not just in my neighborhood, but extended throughout Manatee County, there's been no increase. We were told that we would get some sort of independent investigation. The only one who's made mention of that is Mr. Cruz. Thank you, sir. Other than that, we're getting releases of videos that about the dam that, the only help that those videos give is a 4th grade class on education of a dam. So the gaslighting is almost throwing salt into a wound. So a picture is worth 1,000 words. This is the picture taken by my 11-year-old son on the 5th at 10:05 a.m. It's in front of my house, in front of my street. Got a little water in the yard. On the street, rather. And again, I've been at my house for 15 years. I've never seen that. So if you look at the timestamp, and if you know the totality of the circumstances, what was going on in the county at this time, we're starting to release 15 billion gallons of water due to negligence. Plain and simple. The facts are coming out. You have independent, investigators. You have investigative journalists that are releasing articles that are damning. Why are they damning? Because there's numbers to it. You can't skew numbers, okay? You just can't. As you look, and you saw in the first picture, there's no rain falling. That's an hour and 50 minutes later, I have a river in the front of my house. If there's somebody up here, and you said it the best, sir, there's nobody up there that's an expert, but if there's an expert here that can tell me that this is normal, please come, tell me. This could be your neighborhood next. Absolutely. Let's move forward. Again, a picture's worth 1,000 words. That's a river in my neighborhood. And what do you guys want to do? You want to release videos of gaslighting about a dam? No. Just stare at it. Tell me that that's a storm. So yeah, let's go through the storm real quick. Data points are out there. All you got to do is look at the historical rainfall of before, from Harvey to Ian. Never had a river in my house. The next video I want to see is an independent investigation. That's all I want.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your comments. Next up is Mr. John Campman. Good morning, sir. Please state your name, county residence, and you have 3 minutes, sir. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm John Campman, professional engineer, president of MEA Engineers, and co-owner of 8415 Carolina Street. I previously worked for Manatee County Land Development, doing development reviews, including drainage and road studies. Pat Neal's University Park was one of my projects. I appear here today seeking an answer to 2 questions regarding the 204-unit University Parkway apartments under construction located at 8350 Carolina Street. 1, how was the project analyzed for pre- and post-development stormwater flows? 2, why was the developer not required to improve Carolina Street to county standards? Regarding drainage, the development of the apartments, including the construction of Broadway Avenue and the improper placement and size of stormwater drains, has made our property the de facto retention pond for all of Carolina Street. Any amount of rain inundates our property, and we have had to replace 2 well pumps already. We have advised our family members not to drink the water, and following the explosion of an FP&L transformer on the south end, water flows north, a few weeks ago, the next rain directed all of the water and oil to our yard. Regarding the condition of Carolina Street, University Parkway Apartments bears the address 8350 Carolina Street. Put that address in your navigation system and it directs you logically down Carolina Street. Yet somehow this development was approved with the belief that traffic would travel 2 streets past Carolina Street, turn onto Florida, then onto Broadway, and finally back onto Carolina as they turn into the complex. Let me repeat that. Travelers would put 8350 Carolina Street into their navigation system, but for some reason not travel down Carolina Street. Given this crazy scenario, the developer was not required to improve the street. For more than a year, construction traffic and materials for the apartments have traveled down the very street county officials have said they would avoid, making it almost impassable when it rains. Even more astonishing is the unverified report that a property owner on Carolina Street cannot put up a small structure without improving the street at a cost exceeding $500,000. There is no requirement for a large developer to improve the street, but a small private property owner must do so. At best, this reeks of bad policy and questionable decision-making. I've been in contact with Denise Greer, PE, Deputy Director of Development, and I'm told the developer's TCO is being withheld. I have also attempted to schedule a meeting with Bill Palmer, Chief Building Official, multiple times, with no response. Every time it rains, we flood. Not just one of these catastrophic storms, every time. And the traffic still streams down our street, not down Florida, 2 streets over. Under your leadership, Manatee County has allowed new development without proper attention to drainage and roads. I now challenge that you, under your leadership, make things right for your constituents. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, the items you gave, you need to, sir, you got them? You got them, clerk? All right, thank you. Thank you, clerk. Next up is Barbara Fricklin. Good morning, ma'am. Please state your name and county residence.
I'm Barbara Ficklin, Manatee County Waterline Road. I am here today to talk about the common theme, the flooding and poor drainage.
Thank you, ma'am.
First of all, I would like to thank Scott. He works at the Stormwater in Manatee County. Every time I call him about our creek in front of our house, he sees that it's cleaned out and the vegetation is taken care of. And because of this, the drainage of our creek in front of our house is adequate. However, downstream, that's not the case. I'm here to address two issues. One is stormwater runoff. And I agree with the statement made in a previous meeting by the Deputy County Administrator. He said the ground is saturated. Absolutely. We live in Florida. This should be expected, and because it should be expected, adequate measures should have already been taken to account for the increased storm runoff, which has resulted from the new developments in the area. The surrounding developments have replaced a lot of land. They've replaced tomato and strawberry fields, cattle and horse pastures. The fields which once perked and absorbed the rain have been replaced by concrete and asphalt, which only augments the runoff. The new developments have been built surrounding the properties of existing landowners. Developers start by raising the soil several feet, which results in the runoff of water to the lower land. The existing homes are the lower land and have become the dumping ground of stormwater runoff. This runoff causes flooding and the inability of the land to dry out. We are continuously soggy. Land remaining soggy creates its own problems. Just to name a few: quicker rising creeks and flooding, emergency evacuations of our animals, health issues of the animals, health issues of our family members, mold sensitivities, allergies, asthma, livestock diseases, in some cases, livestock deaths, and lastly, an increase in money, which is needed to handle all of these issues. The second issue is inadequate drainage. In the front of our property and many properties along Waterline, we have a creek intersecting. It's a creek, a meandering creek, and it's expected to collect and remove all the runoff from the surrounding developments and home sites, except it isn't. The low-lying homesteads are being flooded. In the new developments, culverts are being placed and large drainage pipes running from the culvert to our little creek. The little creek just can't move the water out.
You can finish real quickly.
Okay, I would like to implore you all to look at the drainage, look at these creeks, clear them out, widen them, do something to move the water out, because we have had 5 floods from 5 regular 45-minute rainstorms in the past 7 days. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up is Sierra Nelson. Good morning, ma'am. If you could please state your name, county residence. You have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Good morning. I'm Sierra Nelson, Manatee County Parish. I live on Rutland Road. My family has lived in the area for 60 plus years. We've lived at our current residence since 2001. We have never seen flooding like we have this year. And neither have our neighbors. All the new development has caused all your existing residents to flood. It's taking away land that the water could run to, and now it's sending it right back onto us. Jim Davis, Rutland Road, golf course, water line. The water did not get into our house, but it destroyed all of our equipment. It got into our barn. It destroyed our barn. Our animals are having to be boarded at other places because we still cannot get them home because we are still underwater. And that is putting a big financial strain on us. We lost food. We lost equipment. I mean, what's going to happen when the next storm comes? What are you guys going to do to help alleviate the problem that we are having? with all of the new development. Because it's not just the flooding that's a problem. The roads are becoming a problem. It takes me 15, 20 minutes to get out of my driveway onto Rutland Road. So what's going to be done? So, something's got to happen. Sorry. Something has got to be done to alleviate the pressure that is being put on everything here. The farmland being bought out, all the new asphalt and concrete going in. We've got videos of a new development that built right on the creek, and their water is going into the creek. It's not being contained. Their ponds are being washed out and is going into our creek. So please, just, I don't know what you guys can do, but please try to go out and see your existing residents. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up is Dalton Nelson. Good morning, sir. Please state your name and county residence, and you have 3 minutes, sir. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Dalton Nelson. I'm a Manatee County resident. I spoke at the last BOCC meeting, and I plan on speaking at plenty more to keep this issue fresh in everybody's minds. I did have a little speech that I had wrote up, but I'm actually going to ditch that speech because there is quite a common theme here of all the people that are talking about the stormwater issue, and it is a severely, dangerous issue for a lot of us. I've talked with several different people at the county. I've talked with Evan for about 30 minutes on the phone yesterday, going over some of the factual data. I have a background in stormwater, like many other people that I've talked and conferred with, and they have all more or less kind of conferred with me and said the same thing. A lot of the infrastructure that we have, I know from personal firsthand experience. I was a crew chief for a municipality. I was making stormwater repairs in the field, so I know what systems are out there and kind of how those systems work and what their failure points are 9 times out of 10. The community that she was referring to, I've actually went out there and seen it. There's a lot of structural defects and there's a lot of problems with that community, and the houses aren't even finished on it yet. There's been comments made that the new communities are not flooding. I would advise you to go out into some of these new communities. They've had a lot of problems, and they're above the level that we are on Rutland Road. A lot of the issues spawn from overdevelopment. I know that there's probably it's going to be addressed in the land meeting that there is the Pope Ranch that's supposed to be, I guess, proposed. And that's, yet again, another development that's coming into our area. You can go somewhere between 10 and 12 miles from our address on 675, and there's probably roughly 20 new developments that have happened in the last 3 years. The fact is Gamble Creek cannot take it. But when you call the county and you talk to the stormwater division, it hasn't been hogged out in 15 years, and they say, oh, well, we can't. We have to farm it out. And we don't know when that's going to get approved for funding, and we keep losing machines when we try to do it. Gamble Creek is a dry creek 95% of the year. It's only wet with major water events, hurricanes, steady rain over multiple days. Why is this an issue? Why is there a bunch of vegetation blocking the residents getting rid of this water? Why are you putting new water systems into this water? This is all questions that people want to know, but you guys have kind of clammed up and haven't really addressed the public on some of these questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next up is Mr. Gary Floyd. Good morning, sir. Please state your name, your county residence, and you have 3 minutes, sir.
My name's Gary Floyd. My wife and I live in Parish off of 675 or Rutland Road. I'd like to start by saying congratulations to those of y'all that won your primaries. To those of y'all that didn't, Welcome to the world of FAFO. I'd like to speak about the issues of public safety in regard to the flooding and public safety. I have three main questions. First, what models are used for the watershed and how water flows through Manatee County? When were these updated? And do they take into consideration the rapid out-of-control growth in Parish and other areas of eastern and southern Manatee County? When a development's planned, if the evaluation for it is done 5 years before the building is started, how is it factored into, or how are subsequent and additional things factored into that? We all know that that doesn't happen in a 1 + 1 = 2. It happens exponentially with that when you deal with watershed. How many square miles of concrete, asphalt, extra compacted and otherwise impermeable ground have been added to Manatee County, to Parish, to DeWitt, to southern Manatee County, Myakka, in the last 5 years? Not just square feet, but square miles of it. And we're surprised now that the water's not draining out. Secondly, after speaking with Ms. Sierra with Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council, I learned they've been available to Manatee County government since 1962. One of the things she addressed up here is, hey, wow, we do flood and hazard mitigation, along with a bunch of other things as well. Statutorily, Florida Statute 186.502, Section 4.1, recognizes the regional planning councils as Florida's only multi-purpose regional entities in a position to plan for and coordinate intergovernment solutions to growth-related problems on greater than local issues, provide technical assistance to local governments, and meet other needs of the communities in each region. Damn, I'm not smart, but that sounds like exactly what we need here. And why is it that she was just now doing that? Her meeting sounded like it was an introduction, and then y'all are meeting her and hearing about this for the first time. That's a whole new level of ineptitude. Thirdly, what is actively being done in regards to the flooding and its mitigation? I understand y'all are probably trying to formulate some kind of plan, but sometimes you don't really need a plan. Sometimes you just need to set up, well, figure it out. Summarize General Patton's General Patton. A good plan executed now is better than a perfect plan executed sometime next week. Thank you,
sir. We got 2 more minutes. 30 minutes is up. What is up? All right. Right now, our 30-minute time limit has been expired on public comment. We will have this agenda is pretty quick, so we'll have public comment again right after we get through the regular part of the meeting. What we do now is there any citizen comment with regards to the consent agenda? And I think there's one on consent.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
We do have 2 deputy county administrators that can speak to the themes of public comment, one flooding and the other Bishop, that are here. I don't know if the board would like to have them speak now, or
Yeah, that's fine.
seems appropriate.
Yes, sir. County administrator.
Hey, I'd like to bring up Brian Parnell right now and Carrie Knight, Director of Property Management, so we can give an update on Bishop. I will advise the board, we do have scheduled meetings with the concerned citizens this Friday, so we can give them a detailed outline of the process. Thank you, Brian.
Commissioners, Brian Parnell, Deputy County Administrator. Thank you, sir. Yes, as County Administrator stated, we've reached out to concerned citizens about the animal shelters, and we're looking forward to providing them a very detailed update of the procurement, design, and construction schedule timeline for both animal shelters. And actually, our Property Director, Carrie Knight, can actually provide a brief update on those 2 timelines right now. Carrie Knight, Director of Property Management. Excuse me. You'll notice that on today's agenda, item number 18 is an item to add and expand the contract for the design team to do an operational and safety analysis, which is required.
because of the development and the increase of capacity and the impact to 21st. So just want to point that out, that that's on the agenda. So I'll take you through a really quick timeline of where we are and what has happened. In March of 2022, the land and building was purchased. In April 17th of 2023, the RFQ to hire the architect was approved because it's over the procurement threshold for continuing services contract. It's September 14th. That contract was approved by the commission, September 14th of 2023. In March 1st, we had our first draft of schematic design of 2024. May 17th, that schematic design was accepted of 2024. In May, we were advised that we needed to do both geotechnical and we needed a full safety or a full traffic study. We were able to work with development services and were able to get that traffic study knocked down to a operational and safety analysis for just 21st Street, which will move that much faster. So we're trying to fast track this as much as possible. The PO for the dog kennels is sitting approved and with the vendor. The vendor is also the person that installs them, so we don't want them to deliver them, charge us for delivery, and then remobilize and charge us for install again, because that would be a waste of taxpayer dollars. That traffic study is item 18, which is it's a partial. It's the operational and safety analysis. That will take about a month once that's approved. In June of 2024, we contracted the geotechnical separately from the architect to keep this moving forward as fast as possible. We utilized our continuing services contracts to get the geotechnical done. In May through August of 2024, we went into what's called design development, where we take the concept design and we figure out exactly how we're going to build it, what the pieces are, what the technology is. Anything that is here that's temporary, longer than 180 days, is considered permanent and has to be built to current hurricane wind loads. So that comes into play. So today we have the amendment for the traffic study. That will take 30 days, so we should be able to receive civil drawings sometime late September or into October. In October, we will permit with Southwest Florida Water Management District once we have those civils, because we have to have those civils before we do that. And we will complete the final site plan for the development with development services. Just like any person who does building in the county, we're tied to those same things. That will take us through the end of the year. While we're completing those permitting activities, we'll be developing with our construction management at risk team the GMP, and we should have our construction documents late to early January of 2025. That puts construction into February, March of 2025. I know that's probably not what people want to hear, but we have a plan that's moving forward today and not next week and not tomorrow. And I know that my staff has been working extremely hard to do this as fast as possible with support from development services and pretty much everybody on board.
And Chair, I'd like to add,
Yes, sir.
the illustration that was presented did show that this original project was scheduled to be on State Road 64 at Lena, and then somewhere during the timeline, Bishop was purchased, and we pivoted to Bishop. So that's part of the delay, is we have changed sites.
I'd also like to add that the construction management at risk team for the sandbag building was combined with the kennels out at the sheriff's, and they're developing that GMP right now. So we're further along with that, and we want to be breaking ground here by the end of the year on that.
Evan, you look like you're up. You want to say?
Good morning, Commissioners. Evan Pilichowski, Deputy County Administrator. So been asked to speak a little bit about the dam and some of the flooding issues. First, I do want to really reinforce that we are fully sympathetic and we know that there's real suffering for many of the residents who experienced flooding throughout the storm and subsequent rainfall events. So I do not want to minimize that. If anything I've said during any of the videos or in person with anybody has caused offense or interpreted as gaslighting, I sincerely apologize for that. Moving into the more technical side, the dam itself, as I've reiterated, it is not a flood control structure. It is a flow of river water supply reservoir for the majority of the drinking water for the Manatee County residents and part of Sarasota County. It is a 6 billion gallon reservoir. And last time we spoke, I didn't have the figure, but during all of Hurricane Debbie, we released 18 billion gallons of water that flowed through the reservoir. So the 6 billion gallon reservoir simply is not big enough to act as both the water supply reservoir and a storm retention reservoir. There's simply no way to put 18 billion gallons in a 6 billion gallon container. So in those cases, we have no choice but to allow the water to flow through and protect the infrastructure of the dam to make sure that the county continues to have water supply. In subsequent events, just an update for the board. Literally, as I was just sitting there about half an hour ago, I received the first draft of inundation maps that are updated for downstream of the dam so that we can update some of our communications to potentially impacted structures downstream of the dam. And the third-party analysis, independent investigation, we are pursuing that. That is something that we're working with a firm. We are still awaiting their scope of work so that we can negotiate that and get that kicked off. We agree that it is a valuable step for us to take to really understand what the impacts of the dam may have been, and as well as what the underlying cause of any flooding that people have experienced throughout the last month. So if there's any questions, I know it's a big issue. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Can you talk to us about the impact of the release of water from the dam and what impact that would have had on River Club and Lakewood Ranch?
Yes. So that's an important point. So the Braden River, as you all know, has another reservoir on it. That is the city of Bradenton's reservoir, Evers Reservoir. So when we look at the elevation of the Braden River downstream of Evers Reservoir, there was never a backflow into the reservoir. It simply did not raise to a high enough level to back up into their reservoir. With that being said, any water that's released into the Manatee River would not have reached Evers Reservoir or impacted the flow upstream of that point at all. So all through the River Club area, the upstream portions of the Braden River, there is no impact from the release of water from Lake Manatee. We're happy to have an independent party verify that statement, but simply there's no impact.
Evan, real quick, some of the citizens have been concerned about or said that the dam is failing, the dam has issues. Can you tell us what our remaining lifespan on that dam is?
Yeah, so it's an important point. Backing up a little bit from that, we have been completing repairs to the dam over the last several years. There have been 2 phases of repairs completed or nearly completed to date. The first was a cutoff wall that stopped the flow of water through the earthen structure, and then phase 2 is approximately 99% complete. It is functionally complete. That is to repair the downstream sections. Right now, in conversations with our engineers, who we bring in to evaluate the dam and any necessary repairs. They haven't put a firm figure on the expected lifespan from this point forward, but they haven't set an expiration date either. As long as we continue to make the necessary repairs and maintenance, there's really no reason that structure will not serve Manatee County for decades to come.
Thank you. Commissioner, any other questions? Mr. County Administrator?
Yeah, I just want to assure the public and the board, we are working with Tampa Bay Regional Council as an independent auditor with our consultant, so that they'll be at the table as we go through this process.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I see Charlie Hunsiker is here as well, and he's Natural Resources, and it's good to hear from the engineer. But from a natural resources standpoint, I wonder if Charlie has anything he'd like to add to what we've heard already regarding creeks flowing into rivers. And you used to be the #2 guy at utilities, Charlie. I'm gonna throw you under the bus for that too. So you're like probably one of the most knowledgeable people in this entire organization when it comes to the county in general. I was wondering if you have anything to add to it. If you're dragging Evan with you. But we have residents here, affected residents here.
Of course.
We have two really smart minds in the room.
Yes,
So
well, I lived in River Club for 16 years, Sweetwater. I did not live on Cherry Hills. But, we have Johnson Preserve on the north side of the Braden River at that location. Cherry Hills, of course, is on the south side of the Braden River at that location. And I cannot underscore my compassion for the misery that the families are still going through at that location. But my answer to all this is 17 inches of rain. We've had 10 inches of rain. We've had 8 inches of rain that flooded Wares Creek terribly. We had rain that, at the beginning of Lakewood Ranch development, they had a flooding situation along the Braden River and constructed some very large retention systems along Legacy, south of Summerfield, in an attempt to provide additional storage. All of those systems were not designed for a 17-inch rainfall event. And what we've seen is astronomical consequences with a river that finally rose to a floodway and a flood bank that was not mapped. 17 inches of rain. I can't help but say it more and more. Yes, there is an effect as we continue to develop in our area. Developments are asked to be accountable for their systems. There are downstream effects that we can look at from a regional perspective. And I do say as well, water does not jump uphill. I don't mean to reduce the anger and suspicion that the Manatee River created a backwater effect on the Braden River, but it is absolutely untrue. It did not. And that's unfortunate. There's always a cause and an effect, and we're searching for those causes. And we'll, with your support, we'll continue to find those causes. But I just have to conclude my remarks by saying 17 inches of rain.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Harvey dropped 17 inches.
Please, no comments from the citizens. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to the next. Right now, we usually take a 10:30 break for staff to get up and folks to do what they need to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to take about a 12-minute break. We'll be back at 10:50. And then, George, you're up next. I got the clerk staring at me. And we're back. Thank you all very much. We're back from recess. We just ended citizen comment, and we're moving on to citizen comment on a consent agenda items only. I have one speaker regarding consent agenda item only, and that is Chris Whitaker. Did you want to do consent? Okay, so this is going to go fast. This rest of the meeting will go pretty much fast, hopefully. And we're going to do citizen comment right after we get done with the regular piece. So I'll bring you back up. Thank you. All right, what I need now is a motion to approve consent.
Motion to approve. Second.
We're a choir over here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we had a motion by Commissioner Ballard, a second by Commissioner Turner to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. And motion carries 6-0. What we're going to do before we go into advertised public hearings, presentation on request, Commissioner Cruz has to represent us at a affordable housing forum over in Orlando and needs to get over there pretty quickly. So I'm going to move his commissioner comments up to right now and let him move forward with those. And then we'll get, as soon as he gets done, we get over that, we'll move right back into the regular agenda. Commissioner Cruz.
All right, yeah, I appreciate it. I got back from Orlando late last night for this, and I have to race back because I'm speaking this afternoon. I put a couple things on this agenda because they're time sensitive, so I want to kind of let everyone know because I keep getting messages. For everyone up on this board, I have no intention of putting any other commissioner agenda items on between now and November. This isn't the start of something, this is the extent of it. So for everyone messaging me about the next things to put on, like you're requesting Freebird. That's not really the intent. There's a new board coming on, some new members, and they have a right to speak. But these three items I put on are time sensitive, each for their own reason, which is why I wanted to jump on them. And if it's all right, I'm going to skip to 52 first because it was a request of the attorney, which is the historical sites. And this was something that got started previously. And I know most of the public and myself didn't agree with it. And I've talked at length to people on our staff, people on the nonprofit boards, people in the clerk's office. I've talked to everyone about it. And we still don't really have a clear path on what we're doing with it and where the money is going to come from and how we're going to handle it. I believe it was not a vote that I obviously agreed with. And we're now in crunch time because October 1st was the date this was supposed to transfer over. That's only about 30 days from now. Nothing's been finalized. No agreements with nonprofits have been done yet. We haven't clearly defined how much it's going to cost or where it's going to go. I think we just need to unwind that back to where it was. And I talked to the county, the CFO, and none of the money's been spent. It's sitting in a bucket. We can bring it back at the first budget meeting in September and just revert the funds back to the clerk. We haven't transferred any staff over. We haven't signed any agreements yet. I've talked to Molly White and people on staff. We can work in the future on interlocal agreements to maybe do some of the things we wanted to do without disrupting things with the employees and with the clerk's office. So I am requesting and making a motion to rescind the decision to transfer the historical sites to the county and leave them with the clerk where they've been for the past 4 decades.
Commissioner,
So, go ahead.
Commissioner Cruz, just a point of order or a question, I guess. Being on the opposite side of the vote, can you make the motion? And I guess that's a question for the attorney. Can you make the motion to change it?
It's not really. Go ahead.
Not having the motion that was made previously in front of me and being able to analyze that issue directly, I can't say that you can or can't. I mean, the board can change course at any time. I mean, do we typically have a procedure that if you're going to revisit an issue, it's someone on the prevailing side who brings it back? Yes, but the board can always change course.
To make it cleaner, I'm happy to make the motion if you'll word it.
I'm more than happy to allow somebody else.
If you or the clerk, attorney will make the motion, we'll read the motion, I'll make the motion.
And I'm on the board also.
Oh, I apologize.
That's okay.
Someone would have to read it, right?
Either one of you can. I mean, I tried to write it down.
Canadian standoff.
I just want to rescind the previous motion by this board to take over the historical sites from the clerk of the court and revert the operations and management and oversight of historical sites back to the clerk, along with the budget, the budgetary funds during the budget period.
So moved.
All right, cool.
Second.
All right.
But I.
Now we're going to have some discussion.
Okay.
Here's my concerns, and I don't necessarily disagree with Commissioner Cruz. Here's my concerns. One, the Manatee Village Historical Park is a 99-year land lease on the land. The Friends of the Manatee Village own the buildings. we fork out about $447,000 a year. And people understand this, on property the citizens of Manatee County do not own. We do not own this property. We have all the liability on this property, and we do not own the property. So basically, we are making mortgage payments on something that we don't own. I'd love somebody to do that for my house, but we don't own the property. And we had to assume all the liability, all the risk, all the cost. The county attorney can state to the fact that we've already had a claim on this property where somebody was a trip or fall or whatever that we had to pay out. So the citizens of Manatee County are okay with not owning the property, forking out, right now it's at $447,000 just in cost of taxpayer dollars on something, again, they don't own. I'd be more than happy to go to the city and talk to the mayor and see if we can quitclaim that property over to the county. But I don't like making payments and be liable for something that I don't own. If we have another slip and fall, it could be $500,000 liability on this, and that we would have to pay out of taxpayer dollars. The buildings there, from what I understand, are in a huge state of disrepair from our building official. Some could almost be condemned. I have no idea what the Friends do if they raise money, the Friends of Manatee Village, if they raise money or where it goes. It doesn't come back into the process to the clerk to maintaining these buildings to go out and repair the buildings. I don't think the onus is on us to repair the buildings, being that we don't own the buildings. So that's a big concern of mine. Getting into the Palmetto Historical Park and the Manatee Agricultural Museums, the citizens pay out about $468,000 a year on, again, property we don't own, to run something we don't own. We have to maintain it. We have to go out and do whatever we have to do to operate it. And it's operated and staffed by county employees, the clerk's office. They're clerk's employees, but they're still they're still paid for through taxpayer dollars. Any funds that come into the Manatee County Agricultural Museum, 80% goes to the city of Palmetto and 20% goes to the Historical Commission. So then again, we're forking out all this money on property we don't own, and we get no revenues from it. I mean, that's just a bad business plan. I mean, so if you operate a business that way in the real world, you're going to go broke operating a business like that. So I necessarily don't have a problem giving it back to the clerk if she wants them. But us operating this way, the city of Palmetto should operate these two, at least the Palmetto Historical Park and the Manatee County Agricultural Museum, because they're in the city of Palmetto. We have nothing to do with them. We don't own them, but we have all the exposure on them. So the citizens of Manatee County, they're always talking about fiscal responsibility. I mean, this is huge fiscal responsibility that we should take over at some point. I don't disagree with reviewing everything again, taking a step back, take a breath. But the fact that we don't own these, the liability is all on us, the cost is all on the county taxpayers. It just doesn't make sense to me how these things were established this way. There's no memorandum standing on anything with us. There's no interlocal agreements with us. This hodgepodgey put together of 50 years ago, however it was done incorrectly. And I'm concerned on liability and I'm concerned on cost that we get no revenue from. The Maritime Museum is ours. We work with them on that. We get grants and things like that. We put $1 million into the building a year or so ago to make it operational. And we could do the same with these. But we need to get to a point where I don't want to pay money on something I don't own. And as a taxpayer, I don't want to pay money on something I don't own. So I think we need to look at the numbers again. Commissioner Cruz, I don't necessarily disagree with you. And figure out a way to get these properties under our control as far as the county owns them. And then we can work forward in getting those services back over. But this concerns me greatly how this was set up, and we got to figure out something to do. So that's my comments. Commissioner Ballard.
So in preparation for today, I again did a little bit of research on, the responsibilities of the clerk's office established by Article 1, Section 8 of the Florida Constitution, governed by Florida statute, Chapter 28. And I will say that, in those statutes, it is outside of the lane of a clerk to run historical resources like we do. I researched what a lot of other counties do. I could not find another county in the state of Florida where the clerk does run these historical resources. I found several different counties, and they run them through various different departments in the county, depending on the county, but couldn't find anybody else who fully runs it toward the clerk. I do still believe that the county could bring to bear significant resources when it comes to obtaining grants and really making these properties shine and keeping them up at a really high level. We also have an excellent property management department that could ensure that the facilities are kept to a top-notch level. The clerk really doesn't have resources to do that. However, I did all that research, and then I read lots and lots and lots of citizen emails, and they all said the same thing. The citizens don't care whether I think it's within the purview of the court or the clerk of court to do this. The citizens don't care that I don't believe that that the clerk has facilities management staff to keep up the facilities. Ultimately, what the citizens think matters. And even though I don't think that it typically falls within the purview of the court or the clerk of the court, they've been doing it for 40 years. The citizens are very happy with the service as it stands, and that is why I will be voting to revert historical resources back to the clerk.
Commissioner Van Ossenbridge.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I think we all know how I'm going to vote. I made the motion. It's not reflected on the screen that I made the motion, but I did. So I made the motion, so you know how I'll vote. I think Commissioner Ballard, and I think really everybody is right to some extent. There's a reason that Florida statute doesn't have clerks running these museums, and I think this is a great example. Our clerk is doing a really bad job of it, and we've uncovered that slowly as we've been digging into the transition. But again, the people have spoken, so I made the motion. So we should revert the museums back to the clerk. I do recommend that this board move forward with an audit, though, of the museums and put a little sunshine on what's happening with the museums. And there's never anything wrong with sunshine and transparency. So that would be my recommendation going forward. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, sir. Commissioner Cruz.
I'll be quick because I don't want to beat a dead horse, but yeah, I don't disagree. I do, like I said, we should be looking at interlocals and opportunities, and that goes both in terms of the positives of things we can do with Molly and her team and some of the improvements we can make, whether it's how we are insuring things and taking on liability or where it stands relative to audit. So I do think we should incorporate these with some other discussions about Paulo Crosley, some other things, maybe when, come January or something, have a work session on all kinds of the additional things. And if need be, we'll jump into it. But I still think this is the right decision, because when someone does something for 40 years and nobody's complained about it, then why rock a vote?
Thanks, sir. I'll get back on board real quick. I want to ask the county attorney a question. Now that this is moving back over to the clerk, should the clerk not obtain their own liability policies on these properties and not us through our risk management? I mean, we have all the risk, and we don't own anything.
That's really not a question I'm prepared to answer right here on the dais without having some time to look into everything respectfully. I mean, we need to look at the self-insurance ordinance and confer with the clerk before I can get back to you comfortably with an answer.
I'm just concerned with the state of the buildings, especially on the Manatee Village Historical Park, that one of our citizens walks through there, trips and falls, and we had a $500,000 lawsuit we're looking at. I see it? Oh, ma'am, I didn't see you stand there. Good morning.
I'm Phaedra Dolan, Director of Historical Resources for the Manatee County Clerk's Office. You should know that we do maintain liability insurance on the sites that are owned by nonprofits through our lease agreements with them, and you all maintain the liability on the properties that you own at the Florida Maritime Museum.
Okay.
That issue is resolved.
I think Attorney DiCarlo was here. I think, didn't we not have a claim on?
You did, and that was before we had these lease agreements in place. That is correct.
Okay.
But
I'm
that
just asking
issue
the
has been
questions.
resolved over time.
I'm just asking the questions.
Absolutely, and I'm here to provide answers.
My job's to protect the citizens, not the clerk.
Agreed,
So-
same.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. All right. We've had enough comment, enough discussion. There was a motion made by, I guess, somebody, it was made by Commissioner Ballard and Commissioner Van Ostenbridge, and then seconded by Commissioner Ballard. And let's, please cast your votes now. Oh, no, do we need public comment? All right, is there any other, sorry about that. Would anybody like to come forward on public comment regarding this issue? Ma'am, you know the rules.
Carol Phelps, Mayaca. Great job, guys. Simple thing. I think we've got a lot bigger issues that we just wasted a lot of oxygen on, that we've kind of, gosh, I hate to say this, beat a dead horse. But yes, you brought up a lot of great points and everything else. But let's revert back, because I think we have a lot bigger fish to fry out there. And all of your issues, I'm sure, are going to be addressed by everyone right now. But let's focus on kind of what's important right now. You brought up some great points. I so appreciate you guys being willing to turn this back over to the clerk's office. You know how important our history is in this county to me. Of course, I have concerns. I think you brought up some very good ones, but let's move it along and focus on some more important things. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for comments, but just part of governing. Yes, sir, you know the rules.
For the record, Glenn Gibolina, well-oiled machine for 40 years. That's how it ran. Not to mention the hundreds, thousands of hours volunteer work that when the county was going to take it over, displaced those workers. I didn't hear that in the $400,000 equation. You know, it's amazing that if we were so concerned about the buildings, that 4 years ago, when the commissioners were running, you said, look, we're going to fire Sherry and we're going to take over the Historical Society. I never heard any of that for 4 years, not a peep. That motion was an act of revenge against the clerk, plain and simple. We all know that. And now it's going to go back the way it should. And I think some of the voter outcome had something to do with it. You guys disrupt people's lives. You didn't have a workshop on it. You didn't talk to the volunteers that have been working there. It's slam, bam, take it over. Clerk, you're out. That's the image you perceive that the citizens have of this board. Revenge, and let's get back. Because I don't like the way, maybe she investigated some things that weren't proper, right? So what do? You act out in revenge. It's unacceptable. Well-oiled for 40 years, hundreds of volunteers, insurance in place, and you're worried about a lawsuit. Well, Wares Creek had a slip and fall there, right? What'd you do? Put up a fence. But you did that after the lawsuit, so don't tell me about vision and liability, please. Anyways, I'm glad the clerk's getting it back and getting it back the way it was and have more stability from this dais, and we'll have a lot more next year.
All right, is there any other public comment regarding this item? Seeing none, I'm going to close public comment. If you cast your votes at this time. And the motion carries 6-0. Commissioner Cruz.
All right, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I'm sure everyone in Manatee County does as well as the clerk's office. The next one is number 51. This is about the parking garage design work. I've talked to Charlie, I've talked to Sheila. We haven't spent any money on design yet because we haven't found anyone willing to do the design yet for the public-private partnership, but we've got this bucket of taxpayer dollars to potentially design parking garages. And I mean, I think after last Tuesday, there's a pretty high probability that we're not going to be building the parking garages. And I don't like spending money on design for things we're not going to build. we still technically have the bill out there. I talked to somebody from our Tallahassee delegation yesterday. That bill doesn't go away, that the conceptual theory of it still exists, but I don't want to spend money on design if we happen to find somebody to do it until a new board comes in and opines on it, because I've spoken with or campaigned with or talked to every single person in every single one of these races, and there's no way there's going to be 4 votes to build this parking garage. I'd rather just table this. You can call it what you want, cancel it, table it, whatever, until another group can come in and make an opinion on it, because I'm not voting in favor of it, and I don't think other people will either. So let's just save the money.
County Administrator?
Yes, sir. Let's be clear. We're talking about the 3 at Premier.
Yeah, not the downtown.
Thank you very
Downtown
much. Yeah, that one's still moving forward.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So I would move to table any further expenditures on the Premier, Anna Maria Island, or what was our last one? Convention Center, parking garages. I would move to effectively table those.
Yeah.
Moving forward.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Van Osselbridge, a second by Commissioner Cruz, to table the Anna Maria, the Premier, and the Convention Center parking lots at this time, parking garages at this time.
And so no additional expenditures?
No additional expenditures
Mr.
to
Bishop?
be spent on
Okay.
those garages.
Correct.
We are not talking about downtown.
So no additional action needs to be taken to essentially stop those?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so.
We do.
We did do.
And
then
public
after
comment.
Public comment. Is there any public comment that would like to come forward and discuss parking garages? Or just Jake?
No.
Okay. I don't know how we all did that, but okay. All right. See no public comment. I'll close public comment. If you all, we'll do a voice vote because it's apparently already there. All those in favor of, wait a minute, excuse me. Yes. Yeah. Sorry, Jake, come forward, please.
Do people just want to make my life miserable?
Sorry, guys. Jake Erickson, purchasing official, county administrator, county attorney, commissioners. Currently, right now, so we have issued an RFQ, a request for qualifications, for the design criteria package. We do not have contracts yet. We are still in the middle of negotiations. So I was hoping that if we want to table this, my recommendation from the procurement perspective is for you guys to direct us to end negotiations and then cancel the solicitation in its entirety.
This is only on those, not on downtown.
Just on the 3. We
Drag
took
it
those
downtown.
3 and put them into one solicitation, which was pretty sweet.
Okay, so then I would amend my motion to include suspending the RFQ.
Okay. Amended, seconded, okay with that? All right, let's cast, if everybody will, we'll just voice vote. Everyone in favor of the amendment? Yes, ma'am.
Oh.
We did, I asked public comment. I'll ask for a voice vote. Sorry about that. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None, so the motion carries 6-0. Commissioner Cruz.
Yeah, this is a quick one. We obviously need to fix how we're communicating, especially during storm season, which was what made this time sensitive. There may be better solutions, but right now there's not. People look to Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, you name it, to interact. There was a lot of issues with the dam, the flood. People couldn't get answers. It's not fair to the people up on this board to get one-off Facebook messages from everybody under the sun. It's not fair to everyone out in Manatee County to have to Facebook message commissioners and hope for a response. So I'm requesting, since we didn't vote to turn it off, so I don't think there's a vote to turn it on, I'm just requesting direction to the county administrator to turn on social media comments for the time being until we can determine how best to communicate with the citizens of Manatee County.
Commissioner Van Osselbridge.
Thank you, sir. On this one, I'm not going to jump on board with you. The social media platforms are a way for the county to disseminate information to citizens, but it is not meant as a platform for feedback and dialogue and at times debate. That is not what it's meant for. It's an opportunity for us to disseminate information to them. We have many avenues with which people can communicate, whether it's online or via the phone, 311 being the most obvious, email being the second most obvious. But the person who's running our Facebook is not a person who is an expert in all things Manatee County. It's not the best way for people to communicate. And of course, we have an opinion from the CAO's office because of people attacking staff, particularly low-level staff members, putting on their phone numbers and their addresses and calling them out by name and personally attacking them. And so that sort of just compiles with additional reasons to not do that. So I'm not going to be supportive of this.
All right, sir. Commissioner Cruz. Oh,
I am.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. So I do think that there is some value in turning comments back on because in real time, in an emergency situation, people are on Facebook just as a matter of what are people actually doing? They're getting on social media and they're making comments and they're reporting things that they're seeing that they're doing. So I do think that there's value in that. I do think it's important that we have someone monitoring the accounts and hiding any comments about staff that are doxing. You can hide.
The opinion from the CAO's office is that it is all or none, and that it became a freedom of speech issue. If you're hiding comments, then people cannot comment on that comment, and it becomes a freedom of speech issue. That's the opinion from the CAO's office that currently stands.
As long as we can hide doxing or harassing comments, then I'm comfortable turning social media commenting back on. And so that's, I guess I really need some input.
I guess I would agree with you if that were the case, but that's not my understanding.
He's deferring to the county attorney. Madam Attorney? I got it.
Shouldn't give us another second.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, fellow commissioners. This is a very complex issue, and there is an opinion from my predecessor, and I don't disagree with the legal conclusions or the advice he gave in that opinion. The county does have a social media procedure and policy in place. I do think it should be revisited before comments are turned back on, just so we can do a thorough examination of it and make sure that it's compliant with existing law, because it was issued back in 2019 and it's scheduled to sunset this Christmas in December. And so before comments are turned back on, which the board can do, the board can turn comments back on, but we should have a policy in place that authorizes the appropriate retention, but hiding or deleting of comments that we can legally hide or delete because they violate our policy. But by opening up comments, you are creating a limited public forum, and you do need to retain all those records, and you have to follow your policy regarding that. And so I think you can do it. Well, we have a policy, but as I said, it's from 2019. And I would like an opportunity to have fresh eyes looking at it, because looking at the opinion that Mr. Clegg wrote, it seemed as though maybe he wasn't aware of the existing policy, because he talks about needing a policy, but he doesn't make specific reference. So not knowing what he had in front of him to look at when he did his analysis, I don't know if he had the policy in front of him and was able to do the analysis to see whether the policy was sufficient with current law and case law that's come down. So if the board wants to turn comments on, I think you absolutely can, but we just need to be careful and circumspect about it. And so I'd like to have a little bit of time to look at the existing policy, see whether it needs any updating and corrections before we turn comments back on. And we need to make sure that staff is educated on how to properly operate under the policy so that they're not misstepping in any way and deleting comments they shouldn't. I mean, one of the things that Mr. Clegg talked about was, distasteful comments, or he did express concerns about comments directed towards specific employees and things of that nature, which we do need to be cognizant of. But we can't simply be hiding comments just because they're distasteful. We have to have something that really meets the marks according to the cases in order to be able to hide or delete those because they violate our policy in compliance with Florida and federal law.
Okay.
Thank you. Hey, Jordan.
So
I made it on the board. I'm sorry.
So I just wanted, I would be comfortable making a motion to have the county attorney look at the policy and then bring it back to the board to turn social media commenting back on. That being said, if that is the county attorney's advice to us, not that we just turn it on right now. Additionally, there's something else that I'd like to bring up. So when I was first elected, I brought this up, and the will was not there to make the change. So I'm going to jump in and see if we can make it now. And Commissioner Cruz has also brought this up on multiple occasions, bringing back call-in comments. So,
There's already a motion on the floor.
so after we vote on this, if we can briefly bring that issue up again and see if there is now the will to do it.
Okay. So the first motion you made was to direct the county attorney's office to review the current, social media policy and bring it back to us with recommendation.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
Technically, there's a motion on the floor.
Yeah, I had a motion.
There's a motion on the floor.
Not about that. I made the motion just to turn them back on. Actually, I did not make a motion.
You did make a motion.
I said we never voted to turn them off, so we don't need I didn't feel we needed a vote to turn them on. I just wanted to direct the county administrator to press the button and turn it back on.
But that's essentially a motion. But
Was that a motion or more
Very
conversation?
nitpicky. Well, it's still on the board anyway.
Well,
Okay, so Commissioner Ballard, your motion is to direct the county attorney's office to review social media policies and bring back a recommendation from their office with regards to leaving it as it is or turning it back on.
No. I'm directing the county attorney to. I want it turned back on, but I want her to make sure that we're looking, that our policy is updated and that we account for case law, et cetera, and that our policy allows us to delete comments that are doxing or harassing to employees.
It's a pretty clear motion on the board.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's just vote on it.
So
Most Pam doesn't understand.
you got to move it.
You're waving your hand.
well, I hadn't read that.
D'Agostino, do you think that I was unclear?
I
Is it clear on the board? Is this motion clear or not?
if I can recommend a motion.
Yes, please.
Please, if you can clean it up.
My recommendation would be that the motion be to direct the county attorney. I'm sorry. Direct the county attorney's office in cooperation with county administration to examine the existing social media policy, social media procedure, and bring that or a new policy, proposed policy, back before the board so that social media comments may be turned back on.
You agree with that?
I love it. That's beautiful. So moved.
And so,
Oh, it's still on the board.
Go ahead. Sorry.
go ahead.
If no one's seconding it, I'll second.
Well, no one's made the
Hold on.
motion.
I
It's
think
not-
Commissioner Cruz is still on the board, I think.
Yeah, Commissioner Cruz still on the
Yeah,
board.
I
and-
mean, yeah, I'm fine if it's bringing back, but it needs to be back quick. Like, if you look, somehow, I don't know what kind of toxic world we live in here in Manatee County where everyone's just doxing people all day long. I didn't see it when we had the comments turned on. I'm sure it maybe happened once, and there's a case study that we now used. But right now, I'm just saying right now, under the same guidelines of the state and federal laws, so Sarasota County has comments on, Pinellas County has comments on, Hillsborough County, Lee County, Collier County, Orange County, DeSoto County. Literally, I cannot find one county in the entirety of the state of Florida who turned off comments. In fact, all the commissioners up here have their own Facebook pages. All the comments are turned on all those pages. Even the own commissioners didn't turn off comments on their own pages.
I don't have a Facebook page.
Associated with it. So I don't get why Manatee County government in and of itself is in some sort of like vortex world here that we're the only place that needs to turn off comments because we've somehow uncovered a problem that no other county out of 67 counties has uncovered. Just turn the comments on, man. I don't understand why this is so difficult.
County Administrator.
Yeah, I appreciate the dialogue. Just for the record, we've had numerous complaints on Facebook. One instance, we had 2 employees that were under investigation that were fighting with each other on the Manatee County Facebook page, and I could not turn them off because it's freedom of speech. I will tell you, Andy Butterfield was at the mic. We have a meeting with the county attorney. I believe it's scheduled next week to go over various policy procedures that we're working on, and this one is the top of the list. So that meeting's already been scheduled.
I mean, are we concerned that in the next 2 weeks, the next meeting is what, September 10th? Would it kill us just to turn on the comments now and then direct the county attorney and county administrator to come back on September 10th with a proposal for revised social media comment. I mean, you know, we do have flooding every time it rains right now. People want comments and want to be able, and here's the thing, I understand what someone says, well, our social media people aren't experts. I get it, but we have experts and they read Facebook. So if something happens with a dam and there's 300 comments about it, then that's something Evan and his team will notice those comments. It's almost like a comment cloud. When you notice a lot of people asking the same questions, that gives staff an idea of, hey, maybe we should post something about that or send something out. Or that last iPaw message we sent out probably wasn't worded properly when we encouraged people to grab their dogs and run out into the flood, because everyone's asking about it on Facebook. It gives us direction to understand the concerns of the public to be able to to be able to respond to it, even if we're not responding comment by comment. That's why it's important, and we're dead smack in the middle of hurricane season with a lot of stuff going on. So, you know, if we're going to delay it, then it should be delayed until like the next meeting, because just take Sarasota's and put the word Manatee on top. And now we have a social media platform because it seems to work there. And it's the same population as us right next to us. So we should be able to do this fairly quickly if we're going to delay it.
Okay. I would, if I would be fine with asking the county attorney to bring it back by the next meeting, if that's feasible.
That's fair.
Am I giving you an impossible task?
If that's the will of the board, we'll get it done.
All right, thank you. All right, so new motion's not there yet. We're going to go ahead and vote. Oh, you guys bringing up are you bringing up the new motion with the addition of by the next?
I don't think we have to add that to the motion.
It's on. We're good.
Okay, it's on the board. Okay.
It's on the board. Okay. So there's been a motion made by Commissioner Ballard, seconded by Commissioner Bearden. All those in favor, cast your votes now. I need to do public comment.
Yeah.
I apologize. Can we bring anyone, if there's anyone in the public that can speak on this item, please come forward.
I think it's great. Item to bring up.
Can you please state your name and county residence?
Chris Whitaker, Manatee County. I think it's a great item to bring up. I think Mr. Cruz also brought up a very good point that, you know, we do have smart people that can oversee this, and someone very smart in all the things that go into social media should be in charge of overseeing the comments. And I would also bring up, you know, there's a lot of fake comments out there, like bots accounts that are actually put in, and they try to create civil discourse. And so that's another account that should be like a red flag for whoever's overseeing the social media comments, because the comments can be used for very positive change and like communication when, you know, natural disasters and things like that happen, just to get information out. A lot of people just to be in one room talking about the same thing. But I just wanted to bring up about that, the new bots and fake accounts that are all out there. I mean, you see them in other, you see like some crazy comment and you're like, oh, who's that? And you click on their account and they're nobody, you know, they have nothing on their account, and you can just tell that it's just there to make civil discourse. And so just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That's a good point. Yes, ma'am, you know the rules.
Carol Feltz, Mayaca. All of this is all well and good, but I think what we're really talking about is communication. And, you know, as I say with, you know, small town out there, social media is the best thing, the worst thing that ever happened. But you do get a lot of, it's not exactly a public utility. It's not like, you know, the telephones or things like that. What we're really talking about is communication. That's what the issue is. So social media does give us a way of communicating, advertising, letting people know things that are going on. My problem with in utilizing those resources is that it's apparently not working very well, because we're having problems with resolving issues, taking issues to the right department, things like that. And a lot of times our our social media. I mean, like today, what should be on our social media page today? What should be on our social media page right now? This meeting. This meeting. Not Tai Chi in the park or anything else, but it should be this meeting. So our use of social media can be bolstered. I too could be appalled at the comments that get put on there and the tangents that we go off to. But what we're really talking about is communication. And I'm very nervous about any of us using facilitations outside of what our county should be doing internally. If you look, nearly every single one of our county departments has, their own Facebook page, their own dashboard, their own this, their own that. We're missing a lot of a cohesive communication system. You have to sign up in one place to get on the neighborhood registry, which then signs you up into another place to get a project list. If you want to get public hearing notices, that's something else. Weather alerts, something else. Come on. I get a phone call and a text message and an email at 4 a.m. to tell me what the heat index is that day, which I'm not really worried about at 4 a.m., but we had a problem with getting communication out to our people who were looking at a water issue. So let's focus more on not what tools we use, but how to make them effective. And I think on the public's part, we have to start also behaving our own selves and conducting ourselves online to where we would not act any way differently than if we were talking face to face to somebody. And I think a combination of those things are good. But versus using social media, why can't we have an internal communication directly with our county website instead of using those things that we could get zuckered at any moment, and there goes everything you've built on social media. And that also comes into bringing in public comment with a more educated public. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. Does anyone else like to come forward and give public comment on the social media motion?
For the record, Glenn Gibolino. Turn it back on. Was on before. Turn it back on. Now, I do agree. So two things I want up. The small percentage that we're talking about, 0.1% of the disparaging remarks, if it's personal information and it's personal harm, I agree. Get rid of it. The other thing is the employees that are fighting on the Manatee County webpage, don't make your problem my problem. Take care of it internally. I can't believe you're saying, well, we got 2 employees and they're into it. That's not our problem. That's your problem. So get rid of that. The other thing, I've been thrown off Facebook, so I know the kind of the policies, Been a bad boy, but as long as it's not endangering anyone, I just don't think you guys can handle constructive criticism, right? But that's the cost of doing business. That's why you were elected. You take the good with the bad. If you can't take the heat in the kitchen, get out of the kitchen. There are also a ton of, probably 90% of very good comments that this county and this administration can use to an advantage. And you've missed that opportunity since you 86'd all the public comments. You've sequestered the public comments. You don't want to hear from us. You don't answer your emails. So what else is there to do? 311, I'm not real fond of that. Emails that are sent to you, you don't respond. So Facebook is an alternative way for us that gets sequestered by all the other means to make a statement that hopefully will be heard. Turn the damn thing back on.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
My name is Dalton Nelson, Manatee County resident yet again. Just want to make a quick thing. I know this is somewhat before my time, but if you guys remember phone books, a lot of times people's names, phone numbers, and addresses, unfortunately, are public information. I do understand that that's a concern, but I feel like if that's a concern, don't put yourself in the public's position. Don't make yourself open to those kind of lights as far as being in a public office. If you're that concerned about it, I mean, it's out there everywhere. Unfortunately, we live in the internet age, and that stuff's a click away. So, just want to put that out there. It's all public information, just like your tag.
Thank you, sir. I do have one speaker that signed up, Billy Mafis. Don't see him here. All right, is there any other public comment regarding the social media commenting item? All right, so now there's been a motion made by Commissioner Ballard, second by Commissioner Bearden. If you please cast your votes at this time. I'm waiting. And the motion carries 6-0. Thank you very much, Commissioner Cruz. And you're off to see the wizard.
I did.
What motion? Oh, the other one. I didn't see it on the board, sorry.
Our motion for call-in comments.
I don't.
Now you talk about bringing them back as they were before?
I was never, I was not a commissioner when that was.
I just want clarification on what you want, because
Yeah.
I try to bring them back as they were before, and then people try to
So
manipulate.
let me make sure that I'm aware of how it was before. Was there any sort of, was there a 30-minute time limit like there is for future agenda items, or was it just?
No, before it was just comments, as if you were standing here, but you were on a phone.
Well, it was the same rule with the 30-minute time limit. It applied to call-ins as well. It was
That-
a total.
For future agenda, but
Yeah.
not if
Correct.
it
Yeah.
was an agenda item. Then
Correct.
so-
If it was agenda item,
That's,
then no.
Yeah.
that's fine.
Okay, I second that.
Okay, so, Commissioner Ballard, you want to state your motion so we get up on the board?
Yes. So my motion is to bring back call-in commenting at our board meetings.
Is that on just on future agenda and consent, or on every item that is up for vote?
Last time it was on every, because I
We're-
don't know if you were on the board either.
Yeah.
It was every agenda item except for quasi judicial and land use, because you had to be present due to the nature of
Yeah,
that.
okay, right,
Yeah, because you had to be sworn.
okay.
So my motion is to bring it back as it stood before.
I second that, 100%.
All right, we have a motion made by Commissioner Ballard and a seconded by Commissioner Cruz on bringing back phone-in comment. Is there any public comment regarding this motion? They're giving you what you want.
For the record, Glenn Giubilino, long time coming. George, you've brought this up several times before, and when you weren't part of the cabal and not the supermajority, it never saw the light of day. So let me give you a little bit of history about the public comment. It has worked for years, not only here, but at the school board. Magically, on the day of public comment for the racetrack, if you remember, where we had hundreds of people calling and waiting to come in, a stack full of people here, magically, because COVID was over, we'll get rid of public comment. No open discussion, no workshop, just sucker punch that day, bam, we're not taking any more phone calls, and we're never taking any more phone calls. That's the way you guys come across to the citizens. You don't want to hear from us. And now you're pedaling backwards because it's going to get in next year anyways. I'm glad you're making an effort now, but that day was coming anyways. So long overdue. You guys were horrible to the citizens, and not a lot. People were struggling to get here. Price of gas, parking, wait 3 hours to make 3 minutes. The same 3 minutes that you could have listened to on the phone, right? The same 3 minutes you never gave that citizen who might have had some difficulty getting here or couldn't afford to get here, but their voice wanted to be heard. You never gave them that opportunity. So put a 30-minute time limit on it. You guys get paid $100,000 a year to listen to us. Start listening.
All right, is there any other further public comment on?
Okay, so Carol Feltz, first off, thank you very much. Absolutely phenomenal work on that. On our end, I think having an educated, informed, and involved public is what's going to make those 3 minutes and what's going to make those calling comments. I'm ready when you open up the social media, on our Facebook page. We're probably going to break the internet, so be prepared for that. And on our behalf with the call and comments, I know it could get tedious. I know a lot of times that our citizens, when we call, we may not have a great grasp of the situation. You know, making a point is just to make a point and take advantage of that calling in. That's where it comes into having better communication beforehand on that. That means we go back to let's make sure that those agendas are out in a timely manner. I would also suggest that we word our agenda items on your reading comprehension level of your average citizen. And there's a lot of things on the agenda. Like I said, I'd like to see our meetings on our social media page. I'd like for our agendas to be out there so the citizens could read them. A lot of times that I try and get people to read the agenda beforehand so that they're prepared for a meeting, they don't understand where any of that says. And I think I suggested that maybe we need a pregame show. You know, you could sit down and watch a football game and somebody gives you the whole, you know, status and everything of every person playing. But our public really needs to understand. This is why I encourage people to come down here, and I encourage people to watch you guys at work. Is there a problem, George? Just wondering. Anyway, y'all, I'll stop. But I'm saying this is part of other steps to this too. Okay? And I think you're making some great strides in it, but don't be surprised if because of certain circumstances that you're going to get a lot of stuff on the internet. You're going to get a lot of people with the call and comments that might be a little bit tedious. But remember, it's about communication. And I think that if we improve a lot of our other levels of communication, let's get that agenda out there where our citizens can understand it so they could be making an educated, positive comment, you know, understanding the problem and suggesting a solution. But thank you very much for what you've done today. Very good.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any other public comment regarding bringing back call-in comments? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. The motion.
If I could just say something very brief.
Yes, ma'am.
I have always been in favor of bringing back call-in comments. I brought it up on at least 2 occasions. The will of the board was not there. I stopped bringing it up. I stopped making it an issue because I knew it wasn't going to happen. So it's something I've always been in favor of.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, we've got a motion by Commissioner Ballard, second by Commissioner Cruz to bring back in call-in comments as they were before. If everyone could please cast your votes at this time. It is. It's just under. It's under 53. No.
Was so long ago, I can't remember.
And that motion carries 6-0. Commissioner Cruz.
I'm done with my stuff. I just want to thank everyone up on the board. I mean, that was good dialogue. We didn't agree with everything, but I appreciated the honest dialogue. And Commissioner Ballard, you know, as she said, there were a few times where this has come up in the past, and Commissioner Ballard had always been on my side relative to those call-in comments. I know some of the people that are still out there campaigning are on it as well. I was going to hold off on that just to not subject everyone on the board who didn't want call-in comments, but I'm still glad it was made now. I think this is going to improve things, and I do appreciate everyone's support on the things I put on there. So thank you very much.
What? Are you heading out? Are you good? A few more minutes. Okay. All right, cool. All right. I just want to make sure you're still going to be here for a couple items. All right. We're now moving into advertised public hearing, presentations upon request. Item 41, developmental services. This item has been moved to September 10th. We're going to need a motion to move this item. Can I get a motion on the board? All right. Motion's up there. The motion's been approved by Commissioner Van Ostenbridge, second by Commissioner Bearden. to move item 41 to September 10th. If everyone could cast your votes at this time. And item 41 carries 6-0. Item 42 is, what do I have public comment on to continue? Okay. Is there anybody who'd like to have come up comment on to continue item 41? I figured I'd be okay with continuing in that, so, all right, thank you. Item 42 is developmental services. Anybody here? Oh, anybody want a presentation from Ms. Layton on this? Seeing none?
I did not get this in my briefing, so if I get a brief
Commissioner Van Ostenbroek.
overview.
This is for Newport Isles Local Development Agreement, and for the extension of Sweetwater Boulevard. This is their second public hearing for this item, and the final decision to be made. It is a quasi judicial item, and the applicant does have burden of proof. Their team is here for any detailed agreement questions that you have. But it establishes the terms under which the applicant shall commit to design, engineer, permit, and construct its proportionate share mitigation of required improvements to the public facilities in the vicinity of the project site, since the developer shall dedicate or convey lands for the right-of-way for mitigation improvements intended to serve the needs of and address traffic impacts created by development sufficient to accomplish one or more mobility improvements that will benefit a regionally significant transportation facility. County shall provide an extension of concurrency approval, and county shall provide multimodal impact fees. And I forgot, I'm Rachel Layton for staff.
Oh, you need to be sworn.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, it is quasi.
Yeah, I figured you know that.
I do.
Thank you, Rachel. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. All right. We have a motion on the board for item 42. Moved by Commissioner Van Ostenbroek, second by Commissioner Bearden. If everyone would cast their votes at this time. Public comment on item 42 on a local development agreement. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Please state your name and county of residence, and you have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Jane Satmary, Greengrass Road, Palmetto. We live completely opposite the new what they're just building. They've just cleared all the land. We're already being flooded. It's coming right back. Our horses are flooded. Today, all the land is flooded again, and they haven't even started building. So just to let you know that we are going to be in exactly the same situation as these other poor people here. And it's not even built yet. And by the way, the excavators are going along our road. And we have a dirt road, an excavator, bulldozer. My little dog runs out, don't know how it didn't get killed. So just want to let you know that we're going to be coming every week and letting you know what's going on in our neighborhood. It's already flooded, and they're not even built yet. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Chair, do we have somebody who can speak to the residents?
Yeah, I was just going to ask that. Or do we need to send somebody out to make sure that, Rachel, would you like to come speak? Thank you.
Rachel Layton for staff. We can make sure that we collect her information and get her with Tom Gerstenberger and have, if we need to have a complaint filed for her.
Okay. Yeah, can we also look at, she's worried about traffic up and down the road. Can we make sure that somebody gets out there and do the?
Yes.
Yes, and I don't know what all the agreements were, but yes.
Evan Pilchowski's in the room. A lot of this falls under infrastructure inspections and public works. We'll start having them go out there, and if necessary, Courtney can send code enhancement to evaluate.
Okay.
Yep. But yeah, Rochelle, will you get her information?
Yes.
Thanks.
Ma'am,
Rachel.
We'll get the team out there. Thank you, ma'am. All right, is there any other public comment regarding item 42? Seeing none, the motion was made by Commissioner Van Ostenbroek, seconded by Commissioner Bearden. Please cast your votes now. And the motion carries 6-0. All right, moving forward, moving into the regular part of our meeting. This is County Administrator.
No, you get public safety.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, public safety. All right, we still, item 43, adoption of ordinance 2482, public safety.
Hello, Matt Myers, Chief of Emergency Management.
Excuse me, Matt. Hey, Rachel, can you guys move outside? I appreciate it. Thank you.
Matt Myers, Chief of Emergency Management. Basically, this amends the emergency powers to not have to convene every time we want to extend a local state of emergency. That makes it easier and faster for us to get resources, continue to get resources from the state or elsewhere. I can answer any questions that you have.
Are there any questions of Matt?
It's a great idea. Love it.
Thank you. All right. Is there any public comment regarding item 43 on extending the emergency powers? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. The motion has been made by Commissioner Turner, seconded by Commissioner Ballard. If you please cast your votes at this time.
Jason's on the subject.
And the motion carries 6-0. Thank you very much. Now we're moving into the regular part of our scheduled meeting. And next up is item 44. It's the Sarasota-Manatee MPO Citizens Advisory Board application. Last time this came forward, we had some concern with the wording of the citizens that were how they're being appointed. So, sir, you're up.
For the record, Ryan Brown, Deputy Director, Sarasota-Manatee MPO. I wanted to bring this back to today. Originally, there were 3 vacancies posted. Per our bylaws, the Sarasota-Manatee MPO, we request our member jurisdictions to bring forward and recommend for further ratification on our board. We wanted to come back and clarify for you that the at-large members could be from any jurisdiction within Manatee County. The ones that we're requesting are unincorporated, so we're looking for one more unincorporated member to be appointed by you all and then ratified at the MPO board. So with your direction, we will bring that back to our board for further adoption. So
We appointed last time.
I believe we only appointed the disabled, which was
Pat, correct.
No, we did.
Yep.
We did John as well.
Oh, that's right. John and Nola we did.
Yeah.
And we did John.
So we need one more.
We need one more. Okay.
Unincorporated, correct.
All right. All right, so what I'd like to do, commissioners, at this time, I'd like to ask anyone if they have a nomination.
Well, I'll nominate Keith Green.
Okay. All right, so there's no second required. Is the other commissioners like to make another motion or make a nomination? Sorry. I'm seeing none. I'm going to go ahead and see no other nominations. I'll go ahead and close nominations, and Keith Green has been. And I won't do public comment. Is there any public comment regarding the position for the MPO advisory board? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. And Keith Green has been nominated to the. No.
Close nominations.
Well, I thought we didn't have a vote. Okay. I can close nominations.
Well, then,
I can close nominations, and then we vote on Keith Green.
That's fine.
Okay. So we don't need to vote. Okay, we don't need to vote on the closed nominations. We need to vote on Keith. All right, so the motion's been made by Commissioner Van Ossenbridge to appoint Keith Green to the MPO Planning Citizens Advisory Board. And there's no second required. So if you can please cast your votes now.
Somebody's got a second.
Well, you don't have to, but.
Well, on the screen they do.
Okay. All right, if you please cast your votes now. And the motion carries 6-0. All right, Madam Attorney, you are up.
I'm really bad at pushing that button, sorry. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and fellow commissioners. I briefed all of you about my intention to bring this, sorry? Oh, sorry about that. I briefed all of you about my intention to bring this forward and have this discussion about the existing contracts for legal services that the office has and then future contracts. So my request for you today, and we should probably do this one at a time, is a motion to approve and ratify all current and existing contracts for services executed by prior county attorneys and those acting on their behalf, non-pro-tunc. As I explained in my briefing, we have roughly, I think, 17 outside counsel contracts right now. 9 were brought before the board for approval, but 8 were not. And those were executed, I believe, under the authority that the prior county attorneys believed they had to execute those contracts, which I think is probably the intent of the county attorney ordinance. but it isn't as explicit as I wish it was and how it is in other jurisdictions. So that's the first motion that I'd ask the board to consider at this time.
Okay, Madam Attorney. Real quick. So basically, our previous county attorney would execute those contracts for outside counsel and stuff like that, correct?
Prior county attorneys did.
Yes.
The previous and those before.
Okay. So basically what you're asking us to do is just approve that you can do it.
Well, ratify the ones that are currently in place
All right.
so that it's very clear that the board is comfortable that all those contracts are ratified moving forward.
Okay. All right. So on motion one, do you want to bring them up separately? You can't?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So on the first motion, I was going to do it
So,
verbal. We're gonna do it verbal.
motion to approve and ratify all current and existing contracts for services executed by prior county attorneys and all those acting on their behalf, nunc pro tunc.
Okay, thank
Second.
you. Thank you. Got a first and second.
Thank you.
Is there any public comment regarding item 50, motion number one? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. We're going to call for a voice vote. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. No opposed? All right, motion carries. Madam Attorney, number two.
Thank you very much for that ratification. The second motion is to authorize and delegate to the county attorney the authority to approve and execute contracts for services deemed by the county attorney as necessary to address the county's legal needs, including but not limited to contracts for special conflict or outside counsel or law firms, contracts for expert witnesses or consultants, contracts for appraisal services, court reporters or transcription services, or for mediators and mediation services, and contracts for similar persons or firms. And as I briefed the board on this, the language is not in the county attorney ordinance that gives that explicit authority. There is language in the procurement code that says that let me read it to be specific. Well, let me go back. The county attorney ordinance says that the county attorney shall oversee all legal services required to protect the interests of the county. Without having the ability to execute these contracts, I can't do that. I'd have to bring every agreement before the board. The procurement code does say that such firms or persons for legal services shall be selected by the county attorney or his designee, but it does not confer the authority to specifically execute contracts on behalf of the county. So that's what I'm seeking from the board today.
Okay, so this is, Madam Attorney, this is basically just cleanup. So this is cleaning up the procurement code to exactly what you can do.
I wouldn't characterize it as cleaning up the procurement code because we're not asking to amend the code today, but I'm asking for a clear delegation of authority from the board. Later, I would like to clean up the county attorney's ordinance and make that specific in the county attorney's ordinance.
Okay.
Thank you,
And
ma'am.
I'm on the board.
Yes, Commissioner Ballard.
Okay, so my question was actually going to be, would it just be cleaner to do it through by amending the county attorney ordinance? But your intention is to do that later. This is just kind of a stopgap.
This is something temporary in nature to get us through because obviously amending the county attorney ordinance, I think that's a bigger issue. We should probably workshop and address other issues of the county attorney ordinance rather than doing piece by piece.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, item 50, number two. I'm just going to do a voice again. Need a motion to move forward? Motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Cruz. Now I'm going to open up item 50, number two, for public comment.
For the record, Glenn Giuliano. Anytime we cut loose of taxpayers' funds without the correct transparency and accountability, there could be a problem. I'll give you an example. So back when we were litigating the dam, right, against the contractor, we won $1 million suit. Attorney fees were $975,000. So, we won, but we didn't. And that was outside counsel. There's not enough transparency when you hire outside counsel to know what the rate is. Is it $250 an hour, $350 an hour? Is there a cap on it? I'll give you an example. I sat in yesterday at a hearing, Mr. Bishop's hearing, by the way. There's 500 hours, 500 pages that got to be reviewed. And I'm sure at some point he's going to come back and ask for that money for the wrongdoing. And KVO, I'm going to be sitting in on yours tomorrow, so that'll be an interesting case. I just think that there needs to be a level of accountability and caps on what we spend for outside counsel, because it can get way out of hand real quick. When they see that cookie jar, let me tell you, I've been around with attorneys. They're all about billable hours. That's all they care about. How many billable hours can we stick it to them? End of story. So if there's a cap on it, say 50,000 on that, that's what we're going to cap you on. That's what you said you could do the job for, and now you got 100 grand overrun. We shouldn't have to eat that. There has to be more accountability. So when you go to that outside counsel, we want to know the length, the requirement, and put a cap on it. If you can't do it for that, then don't do it. Things can go south real quick at $350, $450 an hour. So I'm not happy about turning over that much authority or power to spend taxpayers' money without any caps on it.
Thanks, sir. We have Commissioner Cruz. This thing's, yeah.
I turned off my computer already because I got to leave. Glenn, I hear you about transparency, but there is a budget for this. Like we don't have transparency for every single employee that's hired, every single road that's paid. There's certain delegated responsibilities. We are policy board. We set the budget. The county attorney has a budget for outside services. She has to adhere to that. If she blows it all on one slip and falls cakes, that's her problem. And now she's going to have to come in front of you transparently to request more money and say she blew her budget. Within the realm of the budget we approve on a policy basis, we're giving authority to someone who has a much better handle on how much legal services cost and where to procure them than the 7 of us up here. That's what all this is giving her some autonomous ability to use the budget we've set for her. Not more, it's not an unlimited checkbook.
Thank you, sir. All right, we have a motion on the board, which has been moved by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Cruz. So everyone could, George, can you second real quick?
I think he turned his computer off.
Okay. All right.
Second.
Thanks. All right, if everyone could cast their votes now. And the motion carries. I'm sure you vote yes. Okay. And the motion carries 6-0. All right. Up next for reports is Natural Resources Director.
What's the estimated time frame?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, County Administrator Bishop, County Attorney D'Anastino. Our presentation is approximately 20-25 minutes with questions. And I'm wondering if we'd like to hear that today during the lateness of the hour, or we could return on your meeting of September, I think it's 24th, to present.
About 25 minutes. Yeah, we're going to.
We can go to lunch and come back.
No.
Public comment.
Well, we got public comment out there. Somebody wants it.
So you do it after lunch. After lunch.
All right. The board is to.
We can press forward, of course, if you'd like.
Okay. Can you press forward quickly?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
And with your indulgence, let me introduce two important people to our presentation here. Tom Pirro with the firm of Coastal Protection Engineering is going to assist me with this presentation. And also, I want to also reflect our staff member, Sherry Swanson, who's the Division Manager of Marine and Ecological Resources. She's going to be helping me moving forward with our beach renourishment issues, which have been with us since 1992. And our purpose of our briefing for you today is to talk about our ongoing programs, their capital improvements that are coming in the next 2 or 3 years, $25 million worth of work. And I think it's important for all of us to understand the timelines and the players and get an idea about some of the good news we want to share with the board on this presentation. So if that program has come up, I see it has, I'd like to introduce Tom Pirro with the Senior Project Manager with the company. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. For the record, my name is Tom Pirro. I'm the Principal Engineer of Coastal Protection Engineering. I am a professional engineer, a coastal engineer. I've been working on the Manatee County program my entire career. So today's objectives is really just an informational meeting. We're not asking for any approvals for anything. We're just going to give you an update on the programs going on Anna Maria Island. And recognizing that I'm the only thing standing between you and your lunch right now, I'm going to go through this agenda very quickly. First, I'd just like to introduce our team for the folks who we maybe not have had the pleasure of meeting yet. We are a small business founded specifically for coastal programs just like Manatee County. We have roughly 30 professionals in 3 offices, and we're focused specifically on providing local governments coastal engineering services, basically from soup to nuts. And you see here in the comprehensive coastal slides, we do everything from coastal engineering, numerical modeling, all the investigations that go along with finding the sand, which is a very important component of the program, and then constructing the projects, not actually constructing them, but administrating the construction, and then the monitoring that goes along with that. If you'll just indulge me for a few minutes on my coastal engineering interest, I want to just explain why we do these programs and why they're so important. First, just starting with the definition of critically eroded beaches in the state of Florida. This is a state statute, and the entire Gulf front shoreline of Anna Maria Island is designated critically eroded. That does 2 things for the county. First, it demonstrates that the projects that we do to protect the coast are deemed in the public interest. That's important when getting permits. And secondly, it sets up eligibility for the county to be eligible for funding up to 50 cents on the dollar for all the programs associated with the beach nourishment program. There is a large island-wide coastal processes that go on Anna Maria Island. There is a decadal cycle at the north end of the island where sand circulates around from Passage Key onto the island onto Bean Point. There is also a diverging transport of sand. So this is why Anna Maria Island roads, the sand moves 2 directions to the north and south and gets caught back up in the inlets. So managing those inlets is also a very important point of the program. As you see here, as you dive in a little bit deeper, these processes at the inlets are incredibly complex, not only with currents and tides, but with waves and the sand moving in and out of them. And managing the sand in these inlets is a critical objective, not only for the Manatee County program, but actually statewide. So there are a variety of ways to address erosion along beaches such as this. Beach nourishment is what we refer to as the soft solution. This is the preferred solution. It's the most environmentally sensitive solution, and it has been the solution for Anna Maria Island. There are cases where coastal structures are needed in areas of hotspot erosion or where the sand cannot be maintained on the beach without stabilizing features, and so there are a variety of structures, and some of those are on the island as well. We don't refer to a beach nourishment project just as one event. Just like any other civil works project, this is a program. It requires maintenance, and so we define it as a series of nourishment events that occur over a period of time to stabilize the shoreline in a sustainable and resilient manner. The sand has to be beach compatible. That's defined by the state, and we obtain it from a sand source that we refer to as a borrow area because it's still kind of in the system. It is beach sand. We're just bringing it back to the beach. It is pumped along the beach in a pipeline hydraulically. It is then placed on the beach and graded by bulldozers. In a lot of cases, this material is screened, as you see in the screening machine there. That removes any oversized material, which may be large shells, rocks in some cases, maybe debris. That stuff is all removed from the sand, and the beach is graded and dressed. You can also see my colleague Chelsea there taking sand samples after the project. That is to test the sand, to make sure that it meets all the parameters. And then every grain of sand that we put on the beach also has to pass the Charlie test, where he has to go out there and inspect it himself.
I'm sure that's him in the picture, right?
Yes, it is. So let's talk a little bit about your program specifically. As I mentioned before, beach nourishment has been the primary means of erosion control dating back to the early 90s. Almost 7 million cubic yards of sand have been placed along the beaches of Anna Maria Island. That is an incredible achievement. I work on projects all over the state, and that is definitely an incredible achievement for this island, especially when you consider that photo there from 1992 prior to the first project, where that is what the coastline of Anna Maria Island looked like. It was debris, it was eroded, it was rocks, and it was not a beach. And if you look on the photo on the right, I don't even have to really zoom in for you to see that large ribbon of white sand that runs the entire length of the island now. So this program has been incredibly successful, and we thank you all for your support and everything that has gone on to get to this level of success. There are 3 primary locations where we put sand on the beach in Anna Maria Island. Think of it as kind of an infusion of sand. The first is up in the city of Anna Maria Island. That's a small section, city of Anna Maria, excuse me. That project has been constructed twice and has not needed sand in over 10 years. It's in a stable state now. The large area down the center part, that is the federally authorized shore protection project. That is done in partnership with the Army Corps of Engineers, and is probably the milestone project for the island. And then at the very south end, you have Coquina Beach. That is a county-managed recreational area, and sand is also placed there predominantly from maintenance of Longboat Pass. And that's done in coordination with the town of Longboat Key as well. I talked a little bit about the sand sources. I just want to point out that the original project constructed in the 90s came from a nearshore sand source that you see there pointed in the middle of the screen. That material was a little darker, it was a little shelly, and that's just because of the geology of the sand in that region. We have not gone back to those locations. That was originally done by the Corps of Engineers. We have focused our efforts on the north end of Anna Maria Island off of Bean Point, and all those blue squares that you see up there, those are all the different borrow areas where sand is managed from that shoal and brought onto the island. And of course, Longboat Pass is a source as well. I want to talk a little bit about Coquina Beach because that's kind of the activity that's going kind of hot and heavy right now with your program. For those of you who are familiar with the history of Coquina Beach, you'll know that the very southern end of the island is actually a man-made portion of the island. That was an extension of the island created by dredge and fill in order to shorten the bridge span to Longboat Key. If you can believe it, it was actually cheaper at the time to build an island than a bridge. But it did in fact do that, and the DOT also put in a series of shore perpendicular groins to help stabilize the sand and hold it in that area. And we have seen this erosion continue in this location because Mother Nature doesn't really want it there. It was man-made, and so we have to do a lot of work to keep that in place. But you could see there the picture from Condé Nast Traveler about how beautiful the beach is now, and their quote that it's a laid-back, bordered by towering pines, and boasts perfect unspoiled sand as fine as powder. As an engineer, I'll take a little exception with the fine as powder thing, but it is very beautiful sand. It is stabilized by coastal structures, as I mentioned. There were these groins that were put in not only at Cortez, they're referred to locally here as Twin Piers. It's a good surf spot. I am a surfer, so I'm staying tuned with that stuff. And then there are the shore perpendicular groins that were put in throughout Coquina Beach. If you see that photo in the middle there, they've served their purpose. Any coastal structure in the marine environment, if it lasts 50 years, it's done its job. These have been in almost 70 years. It's time to replace them. And then we have the Longboat Pass jetty on the right side there. So moving forward, we have kind of wrapped our arms around this whole project as the Coquina Beach Stabilization Project, and it's a series of components. The first is the removal of the deteriorated groins. As I'm sure Charlie has mentioned to you before, and may mention here again, they're in a deteriorated state. They're dangerous. It's hard for the lifeguards to see people on the other side of them, so there's an effort to get them taken out. But if we just remove them, as we saw, Mother Nature will kind of cut right through. So we have to restabilize those with proposed 4 breakwaters that you see there. We also need to rehabilitate the jetty at the south end of the island. As you'll see in a picture coming up, it's very porous and sand is leaking through it. And then as part of the overall program, the county constructs mitigation reefs, and those are for offsetting any potential impacts to nearshore resources. There's also an initiative to build a nearshore snorkel reef at Coquina Beach, and I'll zoom into each one of these so you can see them. All of this is meant to work in coordination with the continuation of beach nourishment. This is not taking the place of the beach nourishment. It's meant to work in concert with it and reduce the need. The breakwaters that are going to be constructed at Coquina Beach, you can see an image of them there. There's 4 of them. They start kind of just at the north end of Coquina Beach and go about halfway down to where the cafe is. And as I mentioned, removing the groins creates a vulnerability. These breakwaters have to go in to help stabilize the beach. And I've put together here kind of a concept of what you can expect that might look like from an aerial view. The white lines shown there are basically the locations of the structures. And then I have my engineers rendering. I'm not an artist, but I've seen these things built before. and you could see how the shoreline will kind of be stabilized by these structures. We talk a little bit about the Longboat Pass rehabilitation of the jetty at Longboat Pass. This structure, again, was built in the late 50s. It's a wooden crib with rocks inside of it. The majority of it is still holding together, with the exception of the seaward end. You could see the picture there. It has just been damaged over the years. Again, it has really served the island well, but it needs to be replaced. That photo in the middle was recently taken by your staff, Sherry, right after Hurricane Debbie, and you can clearly see the sand moving through the structure. That's not what we want, because that's sand that should be on the beach, and it's working its way into the pass. So that seaward end of that structure is going to be reconstructed with a rubble mound or a rock pile type structure. And then the mitigation reef. The county has constructed multiple mitigation reefs before, and they're off the south end of Coquina Beach. They're shown there in the black lines. They have been incredibly successful. You could see a picture of our diver doing some assessments on them. The state has acknowledged the success of those reefs, and so there are 2 more that are designed to be constructed in that same area, approximately 2 acres, and that will cover any previous impacts and also provide a buffer for any potential impacts in the future, in addition to the building the habitat. And finally, there is a proposal to construct a recreational snorkel reef. A lot of times when we build these mitigation reefs, there's some boulders that are misshapen or they don't quite fit the spec, but they make perfect boulders for snorkel reefs. So we want to kind of build this in conjunction and put in a recreational reef there, kind of right in front of the Coquina Beach Cafe, if you can get a sense of where that might be, in roughly 6 to 8 feet of water. And this will be something that'll be available for recreation. And lastly, I wanted to bring to your attention a project that we've been discussing with the Natural Resource Group about stabilizing this location at Gulf Drive. This is just if you're driving south on Gulf Drive and just past the Cortez Groins, where the road curves out a little bit. This is a historic pinch point. Whenever we have a big storm, the water rushes through that area. It pushes sand into the roads. This happened during Hurricane Idalia, and it almost happened again during Hurricane Debbie. And so there's a proposal putting forth to look at options for stabilizing this area and preventing this from happening again. There were some significant impacts of Hurricane Idalia. That was now a year ago, and we're still working towards the repair of that disaster. It was large storm surge hit all across Anna Maria Island. And caused damages to the Central Beach, which is the federally authorized beach, and Coquina Beach, which is the recreational area at the south end. We did a project assessment with the Army Corps of Engineers. Charlie and I joined Colonel Booth and staff of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and evaluated the beach visually. We drove the entire beach. We also took surveys and provided that information to the Army Corps. They do their own assessment because it's a federally authorized project. And we're waiting on the results of that assessment and also coordinating with them in order to repair the beach at 100% federal cost. And Charlie will talk a little bit about that in just a moment here. Also, Coquina Beach is eligible for federal funding, but not from the Army Corps of Engineers, from FEMA. It's 2 separate things. We can't dip into the same federal pots, but we have done the work to estimate the losses associated with Idalia for Coquina Beach of roughly 75,000 cubic yards. Those reports have also been submitted to FEMA, and we're just waiting their approval. And if so, we would move forward with the reconstruction of Coquina Beach using Longboat Pass as a sand source. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Charlie to talk about a little bit capital improvement works. And I'll be available for questions if you have any.
Like many things, I like sharing good news. And this comes to us as a result of some very steady work from our coastal planning engineers, the staff, and cooperation from Florida Department of Environmental Protection, State of Florida, Army Corps of Engineers, FEMA. This picture is taken when we went out to make an assessment for Debbie. You see there State Senator State Senator Jim Boyd. And he was there present to help get a handle on the amount of erosion, what efforts the state of Florida could do to help us advance the protections that we need with funding. Also there was the program administrator for beaches with FDEP, who would be managing the state component of this program. And also on this site visit was the top FEMA coastal beach engineer, we call him Beach Bob, to make the call on whether or not FEMA would consider appropriating assistance again for Hurricane Debbie, as they have now decided to do for Hurricane Idalia. As Tom mentioned, Hurricane Idalia's research and development of a plan and plan moving forward by the Army Corps of Engineers and FEMA has been about an 18-month effort. We would expect that Hurricane Debbie's findings will also be a 12 to 18-month effort. But as things work through and all paths are pointing positively, the federal flood control and coastal emergencies program that Congress puts in place following named storms, in this instance up and down the Atlantic coast, will provide 100% funding to restore the damages from Idalia, and not only go beyond the sand lost in the storm, but replace all sand up to that point that had been lost through normal erosion. At 100% federal cost, this means roughly about a $15 million investment in Manatee County without local share participation. Likewise, for Hurricane Idalia in the non-Army Corps portion, as Tom had mentioned, we're looking at approximately $4.6 million of losses. In that circumstance, FEMA will provide 75% of that funding. The state of Florida will follow with 12.5%. So for 12 cents on the dollar for that $4 million, Manatee County will be the benefit of federal and state appropriations. This accounts to roughly $20 million of federal funding. So when you write that income tax statement to Washington, D.C., sometimes it comes back. And this is how it comes back for us. The last thing I want to mention is that in planning coastal processes, of course, as Tom mentioned, there's tides, there's the bottom friction, there's waves, there's wind. All these things come together to be able to try to predict how the environment will react when structures are placed in front of them. And we face the same considerations, although of a much smaller magnitude, when we have evaluated how we will place a passenger dock for our Anna Maria Ferry at the north end of Anna Maria Island. With waves and conditions, we have found that simply docking on the Anna Maria City Pier has become unstable at times, resulting in cancellation of the trips. And we're making a major investment to define how we might develop a land-based docking point just on the north side of the Anna Maria City Pier and hard up against the Lake La Vista Channel. And in order to predict how the environment might react with the structures placed there, we're probably using one of the world's most powerful models to predict the effects there. Those models are managed and interpreted by Coastal Protection Engineering. We grabbed their expertise and said, help us solve this, give us an engineering solution at this location, and that's moving forward. We can always be confident, I think, that when we do these things, we're working with the best available data, and we give this Board of County Commissioners the best available opportunity to be successful. You know, in this flooding, I just got to mention this. Wares Creek has been a problem with Manatee County for 50 years until the Army Corps helped us with Manatee County participation to make improvements along that creek, not to solve the flooding, but to lower the risk and frequency. And guess what happened during this storm? No properties on Wares Creek flooded. It was water in the streets, maybe even up to the sidewalks. But I don't recall a single residence having to put their material out there. It was a big investment. Takes nothing away from the misery of what we've seen around Manatee County. But in one location, an Army Corps project with the cooperation of Manatee County fixed the problem. So there's a way forward. But thank you for this presentation and your opportunity to hear what is a wonderful program. I've been involved with it since 1992. Actually, the company and its predecessors and the various players here have been involved on this project ever since. We've gone through 6 competitive evaluations with purchasing and have won that bid every time. They're one of the best companies in the United States. So there you go. Got to throw it out there.
Thank you, gentlemen. Are there any questions of Charlie or the consultant on the beach renourishment? I have one question of Charlie. Where are we at with the Corps on our reimbursement on the dollars we've already spent on beach renourishment on Anna Maria?
We've been fully funded. We were never short. We were never shorted. There was a moment in time when we were, and we got it back through Congress.
So the issue with the delineation of the property lines and all that kind of stuff with the beach renourishment.
Yes, okay, and what you're speaking to is the easements.
Yeah,
Yes,
the
sir.
easements, yes.
Yeah, for a year and a half, we were held to be that our easements were not sufficient to provide full public access to the area of renourishment. And in the last 3 months, especially the last month, the Army Corps has studied the original documents prepared from 1990, 91, and 92 that set in motion the authorization for that project, and they found deep inside those documents the allowances for the type of easements we obtained. That the easements that we did obtain back in 1992 do still meet the test of public access, because those documents they all had to tie together. And I brought that to your attention before, that we were looking at a very difficult situation to try to acquire more public access to the property. Literally within the last month, the Army Corps has made a determination that our beach project, all 160 easements, are in compliance. And they're going to make that announcement at the Florida Shore and Beach Conference at the end of September. I've seen the map. I've seen the discussion. I've heard from the colonel. We are now included in those easements that meet the test, and we can move forward.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
That's a great update on that.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Good job, Charlie, getting that thing done so quickly. All right. Do we have any other questions of Charlie? Oh. No. Well, moving forward, is there any other county attorney? You have anything?
No, sir.
Administrator, you have anything? Any other commissioner comments?
Well, we need to.
I just want to, come on. So, there's a program, sorry about that, before we go. So there's a program, it's like a junior commission program. So, copied Charlotte County in regards to this, but it's essentially bringing high school kids up. And I just want to see what the temperature is of the board in regards to this.
Love it.
Go through, one of the things, orientation, meet your commissioner, pre-agenda discussion via Teams. They pretty much go through the whole thing that the commissioner will go through.
I think it's a great idea. I absolutely love it. Maybe we should work with Boys and Girls Club to.
Okay.
I know John Agnelli was here, but he's gone. But yeah, I love it. I think it's a great idea.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to utilize HR department for that process, and we'll run through HR and like our interns.
That's great. All right.
And
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, continuation of future agenda item of public comment?
Okay.
Are we going
sorry.
back
Is
to
there-
that?
Is there a continuation of citizen comments? Anyone like to come forward and speak?
Who did not?
Who did not speak before on a future agenda item?
Glenn Gibberlin, for the record, I just want to also mention that you did not call public comment for consent agenda items, and there were folks that were waiting here over an hour.
I did, sir.
No, you
I
didn't.
most certainly did. I mentioned the gentleman's name. I called for a public comment, and I called the gentleman's name, and he said he was for a future agenda item, not consent.
Well, when you were talking about the dog kennels, you didn't bring up public comment. That should have been open to public comment.
There was no action on the dog kennel, sir.
Still, it was on the consent agenda. It was number 18. It was on the consent agenda. You should have.
I understand that, but the consent agenda passed, and I called for comment on the consent agenda, and no one came forward on any of the items on the consent agenda.
So when you do bring it up, when you do go through it, you don't reopen it
We
for
don't go
public
through every
comment?
item on the consent agenda. All we go through is if a commissioner pulls an item on a consent agenda, then we will ask for public comment on that item once that item is discussed.
All right, so.
Thank you.
So, future agenda items, you know what? It just never ends with you guys. Consistency and violation of sunshine laws. I watched this Port Authority meeting in direct violation. We had KVO talking to you, you were talking to Ron. Open public comment. We have to hear every word you say. You continue to violate the sunshine laws. I don't get it. I just don't get it. You can't do that. You're in the middle of a lawsuit now, and it's going to be costly, and you're going to lose. Why? Because of your bad behavior. You can't have transparency and accountability when you're trying to skirt the system under Florida sunshine laws. You guys are going to get your ass handed to you. I can tell you that right now. Let me go through the public comment. So call in public comment.
Can't have
That's
vulgarity.
good. I'm glad to hear that.
Madam Attorney?
Mr. Chair, I would just remind the board that we can't tolerate vulgarity
Yes.
during public comment.
Well, that happens to be in the dictionary, and it's a Second Amendment right, so please don't give misinformation
Sir.
to the board.
Sir, I've been very respectful of you, and then you come in and accuse us of stuff, and I've been very respectful. The county
That's my
attorney's
right
asked you
as
not to.
public
I'm going to
comment.
gavel you. I'm going to gavel you, Glenn. The county attorney's asked you not to swear. I don't care if it's in the dictionary or not. It's part of being some decorum when you address the board. And I ask that you do that. If not, I'm just going to gavel you and I'll have you removed. That's the easiest thing I'll do.
I'm gonna
giving you
continue.
time to speak. I've not ever been rude to you. I've never been disrespected you. And you continually come up here and disrespect us, say things, call us names, something like that. And I'm just, if you want, as long as I'm chair, I'll just gavel you every time you start it. We'll have you removed. I've given you respect. And I've given you the dignity that you deserve. I've referred to you as yes, sir. Thank you, sir. And you come up here and you accuse us, say all this stuff. It's uncalled for. If you want to go up here and give public comment in a decent manner and with the quorum that I give to you, that's great. If not, then I'm just going to gavel you and have the bailiff remove you. That's it.
Fine. I'm going to continue on.
No,
You can restore my 3 minutes.
Well,
Madam Attorney?
if I may, I noticed there was some dialogue back and forth between the chair and the speaker while his clock was still running. So I would recommend you give him 1 more minute.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Attorney. Sir, you have 1 minute. Okay.
The current control of the city commissioners by the cabal of developers will be no more. 3 down, 3 to go. The new era of accountability and transparency.
Does this have anything to do with future agenda?
Yeah, we're all going to
Okay.
talk about the future agenda, the way this board should be run. And this
That's
is
not
what
a-
we
that's not a
expect
future
in
agenda item,
the
sir.
future. Yes, we do.
That's not a future agenda item. You're talking about 3 down, 1 to go, 3 to go, or whatever. That's not future agenda. Sorry, that's just not
Oh,
future
it's
agenda.
coming up, that's for sure.
All right.
The supermajority of the developer puppets controlling the
This is not-
agenda
Matt.
and the destruction of our county.
You're done. Thank you, sir. You're done. Have a great day. Thank you, sir. You're done. Madam Bailiff,
I'll be back.
okay, we know you will. And you'll be back with the same attitude and get the same thing.
Get used to it.
All right, is there anyone else that'd like to have public comment for the last part of the meeting today? Yes, sir. Come forward and please state your name, and you have 3 minutes. Yes, sir, you have to come forward. Yes, sir. Public comment, yes, sir. Good morning, good afternoon. Well, good afternoon, sir. If you could please state your name and county residence. And you have 3 minutes, sir. Thank you.
My name is Charlie Morse. I've been a resident of Manatee County since 1968. I used to be a lifeguard on those beaches. Helped build Port Manatee with sandbags. I've lived in Lakewood Ranch since 1996.
Yes, sir.
1998, we had a lot of water. 200-year rains in 30 days. We had a little bit of flooding. John Clark with SMR, Wilson Miller, the engineers, got together and realized we needed some hydraulic release from the creek. They've worked. They've worked every year till now. And my fellow residents on Pine Lily River have left, but it was devastating. There's kids having problems because of what they saw. I talked to Charlie a little while ago, and he relayed to me that the CDD is responsible for keeping the creeks clean. We had a lot of water. You let it out a little too fast. Downstream, we had a lot of foliage, trees that CDDs weren't taking care of. There's problems on both sides. All I ask is you fix it so it doesn't happen again.
Yes, sir.
That's it.
Yes, sir.
Please.
Thank you very much. All right. Does anyone else like to come forward and give public comment? Come on out, Chris.
And I definitely thank you guys for waiting and respect all you guys. And a lot of this can be towards utilities, but. Can I see this on the screen so I can?
Just put it down. They'll pick it up, Chris.
Okay. All right. I'm Chris Whitaker, a lifelong resident of Manatee County, and I'm born and raised here thanks to my wonderful family. I'm just here again today to support my incredible neighbors and community that have been impacted by the recent flooding from 100-year Storm Debbie, the Manatee Dam, and the public safety risks currently present. There's been significant misinformation and questions that have come up since the last BOCC meeting, and I would like to discuss some of these things for the future agenda items. First thing I just want to bring attention is this right here, Manatee River flooding in 2003, just 20 years ago. I mean, not 100 years ago, but just 20 years ago. We had a rain, and it rose the dam to a record 42 feet. The flooding resulted in the evacuation of 2,000 people. During the afternoon of the 21st, one gate became stuck, forcing the lake's pool to its record levels. With the lake threatening to breach the emergency spillway, divers were dispatched to repair the gate underwater. County officials used reverse 911 to notify residents of the situation and to evacuate more than 500 homes. Once the gate was repaired, then all gates were opened and relieved the pressure at the top of the dam. Why were our alerts sent out after emergency spillway gates were manually opened during Debbie? There's a Fox 13 News article where Ray's Canoe was quote saying, previous administrators up there, they gave us a pretty good heads up. And he could understand why things can go awry, but thought this was really pretty much totally unnecessary if they had pulled the lake down more, which had been done in the past. The Florida Trident article, this talks about, despite the escalating risk, the public was not informed until after the crane had removed 2 plugs from the spillway during the 2-hour period at the height of the storm, and this engineering feat had never been done before. So what employee has employee turnover during the past 4 years led to a current lack of information and institutional knowledge within our utilities department? This right here is the top of the dam. This is on the NOAA website. The top of the dam is at 55 feet, and the emergency spillway gates, the earthen plugs, are supposed to be relieved at 44 feet. We released them manually way below that. Does the middle gate and the earthen plugs emergency spillway need to be repaired before the next storm? We have documents here from before where you guys knew that there would need to be some repairs before hurricane season or there'd be imminent damage. This is a picture of the dam with the middle gate not open, showing water flowing at gates 1 and 3. And here is currently our earthen gates and emergency spillway wide open. Can we have a utilities representative hold a press conference to answer questions about the August 5th actions taken, and please give accurate status of the dam integrity? The design for the dam was not for flood control, no, but the design produces major flooding and can be a flood accelerator and puts people's lives at risk and can't be poorly managed.
All right, thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
All right, is there anyone else who'd like to come forward and give the last part of public comment before we adjourn? So, hey, Chris, make sure you give that stuff to her if you haven't already. She'll get back to you. Okay, thanks. All right, seeing none, I'm going to go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
Well, since we have speakers listed who appear to not be in the chambers, I would just recommend that you call the names of the speakers who signed up so it's clear that we summoned those folks, because I still have several names on my screen.
Yeah, some of them were duplicate too. Hang on for a second.
I'd rather.
Hey, I'm getting to the public comment section. Hang on.
Safer to call their names and reference the fact that they weren't here to come forward since they signed in.
Yeah, Miss Fricklin was a duplicate. Miss Feltz spoke several times. So, do you want me to go ahead and call them?
I recommend you do.
Okay. Mike Meehan, Jill Schitzauer, Barbara Fricklin, Pat Simmons, Carol Feltz, and Chris spoke.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Madam Attorney.
Yep, seeing none, come forward.
Please come forward. Chris, you want to talk again?
We already got Chris. Okay.
All right. Seeing nobody coming forward, I'll go ahead and close public comment. And if there's no other items before the board, I will adjourn. Thank you very much.